Chapter 190, Competing for the 10,000-Year Heavenly. Chapter 190, Competing for the 10,000-Year Heavenly. Flame Liquid. After the middle-grade Emperor weapon appeared, the intense competition began again. Apart from the pill formulas, they were the most competitive items for warriors. However, the few alchemists did not compete with Li Lingtian. As Li Lingtian watched the competition in the auction house, he secretly made plans. He could clearly see that the 7 spirit alchemists had their divine perception locked onto him. Even the 2 Tier 5 martial emperors and the red-robed lady were looking at Li Lingtian from time to time. "You're courting death," he snorted coldly in his heart. If he didn't seek death, he wouldn't die. Since he wanted to attack him, he had to be mentally prepared to die. Soon, the middle-grade Emperor weapon was sold. The 8th item was an upper-grade Emperor weapon. The low-grade Emperor artifact was sold for 10 million, the middle grade was sold for 30 million, and the high grade was sold for 70 million. Li Lingtian was shocked when he saw the Emperor weapons. They were indeed powerful and their prices were so high. The 9th item was a set of heaven-grade array formations. Moreover, it was a heaven-grade peerless array formation that could attack, kill, and defend as one. The price actually reached 130 million, which was also the highest price this time. One might as well refine arrays to sell for money in the future. Li Lingtian muttered to himself. With his array Dao, if he were to refine an array formation, it would not take long before he could create a heaven-grade array formation. One array formation cost more than 100 million. If he did not have any spirit stones, he could just casually refine a few array formations. Now, it's the last item in today's auction. The last item is a rare material that can only be found once in 1,000 years. It can increase the level of weapons and strengthen the power of treasures. Hong Chengyuan took out a sealed box. The box was about a foot in size and was covered in seals. It was difficult for divine sense to enter, so he had no idea what was inside. The last item, could it be a supreme-grade Emperor weapon? It should be some heaven-defying medicinal pill. The last item is usually a powerful treasure. Don't you know? One said it's materials. What kind of material is used to upgrade a treasure? The auction house was in an uproar. What kind of magical material could upgrade the level of weapons and treasures? I believe that everyone has heard of the 10,000-year heavenly fire liquid. Hong Chengyuan looked at the curious looks of the martial artists below and felt secretly pleased. The greatest success of an auction house host was to arouse the curiosity of the martial artists before the items were out. This way, even if he succeeded, the more bizarre he said it, the more curious the martial artists would be, and the more intense the competition would be. In this auction house, 90% of the martial artists did not know what the next item was. Only some special experts or people who got the news from special channels would not know what the next item was. 10,000-year heavenly flame liquid. 10,000-year heavenly flame liquid. Something like this has actually appeared. One haven't seen anything like this in the past 1,000 years. If there really is such a material, one can forge a heaven artifact or even a saint artifact. One didn't expect the 10,000-year heavenly fire liquid to actually appear. Upon hearing the 10,000-year heavenly fire liquid, countless martial artists were shocked. He had never eaten pork before, nor had he seen pork before, but he had heard of it. The 10,000-year heavenly fire liquid was a magical material that was born from heaven and earth. It could enhance the power and level of treasures. However, it had not been seen in Green Island for hundreds of years. Everyone knows how magical the 10,000-year heavenly fire liquid is. Everyone, take a closer look. After Hong Chengyuan finished speaking, he slowly removed the seal on the box. Suddenly, a shocking heat burst out. Although there was no fire or flame, it emitted a heat that could burn the world. A fiery red crystal the size of a bowl appeared in the air. The shocking heat was emitted from this crystal. All the warriors were surprised, but they were also confused. It was clearly said that it was the 10,000-year heavenly fire liquid, but this crystal stone, as long as one was not blind or stupid, They would not think that the crystal stone was the heavenly fire liquid. Li Ling Tian smiled. This was the myriad-year heavenly fire fluid, and it had been around for more than 10,000 years. Even if the world did not know about the myriad-year heavenly fire fluid, it was impossible for him to not recognize it. The things he saw were all extremely magical existences. The cultivation technique he cultivated was also the ice and fire dual martial souls. Now, he had even reached the perfection of the 5 elements. It was the same for the ice flame. It was unknown whether it was a raging flame or an ice flame. Therefore, this IO-year-old heavenly fire liquid also solidified. This 10,000-year heavenly flame liquid is solidified. The better the quality, the more it can be melted by the power of the flames. There's no low price for the 10,000-year-old heavenly flame liquid. Each bid will be increased by 100,000 low-grade spirit stones. Hong Chengyuan explained, and all the martial artists suddenly came to a realization. Then, Hong Chengyuan put away the myriad-year heavenly fire liquid, and the shocking heat also disappeared. Since you've encountered such a treasure, don't insult it. 1 foot 11 inches pay 5 million low-grade spirit stones. A third-level martial emperor said loudly with excitement. Such a material was rare. Even if he didn't need it, he could make a fortune by selling it. Since it's a treasure, the price won't stop there. 10 million low-grade spirit stones. 15 million low-grade spirit stones. 16 million low-grade spirit stones. 17 million low-grade spirit stones. The price soared crazily. Countless martial artists who were rolling around were incomparably excited. They were even more excited than the experts who participated in the competition. It was as if they were the ones who increased the price. Outside, it was impossible to see the price of 1 million soaring. A price of more than 10 million would only happen in an auction house. Moreover, it would only happen in a super auction house when they encountered a super treasure. Boring, 50 million. Li Ling Tian snorted. It was rare for him to compete with these damned warriors. Since he wanted to get his hands on it, he should not waste time here. 50 million could directly suppress some martial artists without strength. As expected, after he bid 50 million, many of the competing experts hesitated. An increase of more than 30 million in an instant. What kind of person was this? When all the powerhouses saw that Li Ling Tian had started to compete again, they felt a wave of fear in their hearts. This young man had once used spirit stones to defeat 7 spirit alchemists. Now, he was here to compete for the 10,000-year heavenly flame liquid. How could he let this person live? All of a sudden, the auction house fell silent as everyone turned to look at Li Ling Tian. However, true experts would not easily give up for the items they needed. After a short period of silence, someone began to raise the price. 53 million low-grade spirit stones. 57 million low-grade spirit stones. 58 million low-grade spirit stones. 100 million low-grade spirit stones. Li Ling Tian made another bid. This time, it was much higher than the previous bid of more than 30 million. He immediately raised the bid by more than 40 million, raising the bid to 100 million. 2 million low-grade spirit stones. What a powerful family. This is 100 million, not 10,000. I've already bought the pill formula for 80 million. Do you still have the ability to compete for this 10,000-year heavenly flame liquid? There's going to be a good show this time. Countless experts had ugly expressions on their faces. Their goal was to obtain the myriad-year heavenly fire liquid, but they didn't expect that someone would suddenly appear. Hong Chengyuan was naturally excited because the higher the price, the more commission he would get. 102 million. 105 million. No million low-grade spirit stones. 111 million spirit stones. Now, there were only 4 Tier 5 Martial Royal Realm powerhouses left to compete. 5 Tier 5 Martial Royal Realm powerhouses and 1 Li Ling Tian. The atmosphere in the auction hall was extremely strange. This competition was even more exciting than a big battle. No matter how powerful a martial artist was, without spirit stones, they could only watch. 200 million. A calm voice rang out. This voice was also what the few martial emperors were most afraid of hearing, but it was what the other martial artists who were watching the show wanted to hear. This was because this voice could always bring shock to people. Everyone in the auction house was shocked. They were all stunned. The 4 fifth-level martial emperors smiled bitterly. 200 million was already beyond their expectations. This myriad-year heavenly fire liquid was not worth 200 million no matter what. 200 million low-grade spirit stones could buy a peerless imperial weapon. It could even buy a low-grade celestial weapon. And this year-old heavenly fire liquid was only a material. Even if it could be used to refine a heaven artifact or saint artifact, it was only a portion of all the materials. It really did not count. However, heaven artifacts and saint artifacts were simply priceless. There was no way to find saint artifacts and heaven artifacts. Moreover, if they were to suffer a loss in front of an ordinary martial artist, where would they put their face in the future? 1 foot 11 inches bid another 10 million, 210 million. If there's a higher price, one won't compete. Wei Lin pondered for a moment. This was also the rule between the experts of the super auction house. In the end, after saying this sentence, the competing martial artists only had one chance to increase the bid. In other words, if someone offered a higher price than him, he could no longer compete. Brother Wei is right. I'll add another 5 million. If anyone offers a higher price than me, I won't compete. Similarly, he couldn't raise the price maliciously. As a martial emperor, he naturally couldn't add 100,000 to Wei Lin's price. Moreover, if the price was too low, others might lower the price than you. This was an opportunity, the only opportunity. It was a fight between the bottom line and the net worth. When everyone called out the base price, they would glance at Li Lingtian. In terms of wealth, they feared Li Lingtian from the bottom of their hearts. After the 4 martial emperors increased the bid, the price was set at 240 million. This price was definitely the highest price in the Linglan auction house. Everyone turned to look at Li Lingtian because he had stopped talking. This was especially true for the few martial emperors. If Li Lingtian did not bid at this time, it would mean that he was deliberately raising the price. If that was the case, the warrior would be dead. Is there no one else bidding? 1 foot 11 inches add a little, 250 million. If anyone bids higher than me, then this myriad-year heavenly fire liquid will be mine. This way, I won't have to use spirit stones. Li Lingtian said calmly. The people outside could not see his face, but underneath the cloak, a faint smile could be seen on his face. Chapter 191, Chapter 191, Illusion Maze Array, 1. Chapter 191, Illusion Maze Array, 1. As soon as he finished speaking, all the martial artists collapsed. What was this? His price was already the highest, yet he was still worried that others would raise the price. Moreover, from his tone, it seemed that whoever obtained this myriad-year heavenly fire liquid would die. This was a blatant threat. Even a martial emperor would not dare to be so arrogant, but this martial arts grandmaster youth was actually so arrogant that he threatened all the experts. Instantly, a dozen sharp gazes swept toward Li Lingtian, but he did not move at all. He sat firmly in his seat and completely ignored the sharp gazes. 10,000-year heavenly flame liquid, 250 million. Anyone else? Hong Chengyuan was also shocked. A young martial arts grandmaster had actually threatened all the martial artists in the auction house. However, this threat did not violate the rules of the auction house. And even if it was against the rules, so what? The auction house naturally wouldn't provoke an expert who could easily fork out hundreds of millions of spirit stones. 10,000-year heavenly flame liquid, 250 million going twice. 250 million for the year-old heavenly fire liquid. Congratulations to number 1165 for obtaining the year-old heavenly fire liquid. Hong Chengyuan paused for a moment before he instructed the young female disciple beside him to bring the box to Li Lingtian. All the warriors looked at Li Lingtian to see if he could come up with 250 million. Li Lingtian had already spent 80 million yuan. If he were to take out another 250 million yuan, he would have to spend 330 million yuan this time. 330 million spirit stones, even super sects couldn't afford it. Only those super sects with deep foundations could afford it. Moreover, they would only gather so many spirit stones to buy important things. Li Lingtian nodded in satisfaction after inspecting the myriad-year heavenly fire elixir. He then took out a storage pouch and handed it to the young lady. The young girl received it respectfully and checked the storage bag with her divine sense. Although a cultivator's divine sense was extremely powerful, it would still take a while to count more than 200 million spirit stones. After a full 10 minutes, the girl finished counting the 250 million spiritual stones and finally returned to the steps. During the transaction, all the martial artists were stunned. He could really take out 250 million spirit stones. This auction ends here. Welcome to the Linglong auction house next time. Hong Chengyuan took the storage bag and scanned it with his divine sense. The number of spirit stones in the storage bag was imprinted in his mind. This was the difference between martial artists. The young lady was only a warrior spirit's disciple, while Hong Chengyuan was a martial monarch powerhouse. After the auction ended, Li Lingtian waited for all the warriors to leave before he stood up and left. After leaving the auction house, he immediately felt more than 10 sharp gazes sweeping over. He sneered and walked towards the inn. After waving the inn, he waved his hand and a restriction appeared. The restriction covered the courtyard. When he entered the courtyard, he also discovered that more than 10 experts were staying in his inn. It was obvious that they were going to waste their time with him. However, he did not take it to heart. It was simply a piece of cake for him to leave. Besides, as long as he didn't leave Linglong City, no one would dare to make a move in Linglong City. Following that, Li Lingtian began to stroll around Linglong City, occasionally buying some daily necessities from the shops. After this period of time, he would have to go out to the sea and go to Baiyun Sea to find the 10-year-old seabed frost iron. He had stayed in Linglong City for 3 days. In these 3 days, he had prepared everything he needed. On this day, Li Lingtian tidied up a little. In his room, he waved his hands and cast a series of mysterious spells. Instantly, the entire courtyard was filled with a grey aura. This aura instantly erupted and spread to a radius of 1 mile. At the same time, Li Lingtian's body disappeared mysteriously. The thunderous sound of the thunderclap wings was also drowned out by the aura. 10 miles away, Li Lingtian's aura began to change. The originally dense metal element aura had now turned into a thick earth element aura. He ran out of the city gate in a carefree manner. After leaving the city gate, his body flashed again. In less than a moment, he was already 100 miles away from Linglong City. When the mysterious aura burst out of the inn, countless martial artists who were stalking were stunned. When they reacted, there was no one in the courtyard. Damn it, he actually escaped right under our noses. You're courting death. How dare you play tricks in front of me? So what if you leave Linglong City? One can still kill you. Emir Wuzong wants to play tricks in front of me. How ignorant. Some of the experts hiding not far away from the inn cursed in their hearts. They circulated their movement techniques and quickly flew towards the city gate. However, Li Lingtian was nowhere to be seen when they left the city gate. They reflected his divine consciousness. Countless martial artists were flying, and they simply couldn't determine who was the youth they were chasing. A warrior's soul consciousness could see the other party's aura and appearance within a certain range. However, beyond a certain distance, it could not see the other party's appearance. It could only know one aura. He could easily catch the locked aura, but the locked aura had long disappeared. In an instant, more than 10 figures shot out and dashed towards the outside of Linglong City. When they arrived outside Linglong City, they had long lost contact with their divine senses. Li Lingtian used the thunderclap wings to teleport several times. Such a teleportation did not cause any spatial fluctuations and it directly blocked the warrior's divine consciousness. Soul-searching technique, heaven and earth reincarnation. The Qinghe alchemist and the others looked at each other. They were stunned for a moment, then nodded and reached a consensus. Then, he took out the mysterious compass and cast spells one after another. His face was pale. It was obvious that he had consumed too much energy, or it was the opposite effect of going against the heavens. I already know the direction of this person. If you want to kill this person, you must first distribute the treasures on him. Otherwise, one won't go with you. That pill formula, one wanted for sure. After the Qinghe alchemist performed the soul-searching great art, his face turned pale. He casually threw a pill into his mouth and said to the other warriors after he felt a little better. Qinghe, you're too greedy. We all need that pill recipe, but you want it now. I also need the pill formula. I need that 10,000-year heavenly flame liquid. He must have a lot of spirit stones on him. Then I'll take the spirit stones. All of a sudden, more than a dozen people began to compete. However, the ones who were really competing were the few martial emperors with the strongest strength. Those with lower strength could only compete for spiritual stones. How about this? Make 7 copies of the recipe, and each of us will get one. We'll split the spirit stones among ourselves, and everyone who sees it will get a share. We can't use up all the heavenly fire liquid alone. When the time comes, we'll exchange it for spirit stones. Those who need the heavenly fire liquid will have to compensate us with spirit stones. Alchemist Hai Lin said faintly. Then, everyone nodded in agreement. Then hurry up. If we wait any longer, that person will have disappeared long ago. What's the rush? Isn't he just a young martial arts grandmaster? Any one of us here can easily wipe him out. That's right. He's just a mere martial arts grandmaster. Killing him is just a matter of a snap of the fingers. It's just that this young martial arts grandmaster is rich. I wonder what kind of background he has. The crowd discussed animatedly. Then, the Qinghe alchemist flashed and chose a direction to fly in. The other experts followed behind him. Li Lingtian flew through the air and arrived hundreds of miles away from Linglan City in the blink of an eye. He calculated as he flew. Although he had cut off the divine sense that was locked onto him, they could still catch up. It was definitely not that simple to deal with a dozen people. Moreover, this was the Beiyu Empire, not the Heavenly Dragon. He had to be careful. If he was in Sky Dragon Empire, he could have killed him openly. If he did this in the Northern Nether Empire, he would definitely be hunted down by several empires. After thinking for a moment, a faint smile appeared on his face. Looking at the countless mountains in the distance, he already had a plan in his heart. With a flap of his thunderclap wings, his body suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already among countless mountains. Since you're courting death, then 1 foot 11 inches let you all die a little harder. Li Lingtian's face was filled with cruelty. He would never show mercy to his enemies. After saying that, he used his divine sense and waved his hands quickly. He performed spells and his body flashed from time to time. In a short moment, he had already flashed countless times among these mountains. When the last spell was cast, the few mountains disappeared, leaving behind an empty wasteland. This is the best one can do with the labyrinth illusion array. If my cultivation reaches the martial emperor or martial supremacy realm, one can even trap a martial emperor to death. Li Lingtian said with a smile. He then flashed and returned to his original route as he flew at high speed. He had thought that he would have to return to Linglan City to lure those experts over. However, he had never expected that less than a minute after he returned, he would discover more than 10 powerful auras in his divine sense. A martial emperor is indeed a martial emperor. He can still catch up with us so accurately after losing contact with us. Li Lingtian was shocked when he sensed these auras. If 1 or 2 of them were to chase after him, he could only say that it was a coincidence. However, more than a dozen martial artists were chasing after them. Moreover, the direction was not wrong at all. They should have known this direction and chased after them. Otherwise, these martial artists would not have chased after them all. The distance beyond his divine consciousness was only 500 miles. Li Lingtian was a Tier 1A/A martial arts grandmaster, so his divine consciousness was equivalent to a martial emperor. If he could discover the other party's experts would naturally be able to discover his existence. It's him. I didn't expect the Qinghe spirit alchemist's soul-searching technique to be so heaven-defying. We found him so quickly. Nye Tian was pleasantly surprised. He was the one with the most profound cultivation base. He was a peak Tier 5 martial emperor and was the first to detect Li Lingtian's aura. Chapter 192, Disturbing the East. Chapter 192, Disturbing the East. This aura was familiar. It was the young martial arts grandmaster who had locked onto him in the auction house. Following that, the other martial emperors also noticed Li Lingtian's aura and their faces were relieved. I've used up half of my true essence. If I can't even find a martial arts grandmaster, how can I still have the face to fly here? The Qinghe alchemist looked extremely pleased. He had used some kind of elixir to recover his Jin Yuan and his spirit had also recovered to its peak. Ha, Wu Zong, let's see where you can escape to. Zhang Wu felt the aura in his spiritual sense flying in a hurry. He immediately laughed loudly, just like a cat catching a mouse. The other martial emperors were also smiling. Any one of them could easily wipe out a martial arts grandmaster. In just a moment, Li Lingtian had already spotted a dozen warriors. The distance between the two was quickly shortened to only 10 miles. Li Lingtian's body swayed as if he was suffering from the discomfort of flying at high speed. Do you think it's that easy to leave? Aren't you very arrogant in front of me? This is no longer an auction house. Hand over the pill formula and the storage pouch, and I'll let you have a quick death. The 16 martial royal realm powerhouses shouted loudly when they saw Li Lingtian's desperate state. Their movement technique was neither fast nor slow. It was like a cat toying with a mouse. Li Lingtian did not utter a word. With a faint smile on his face, he flew swiftly and arrived above the array in the blink of an eye. In the sky, he didn't stop. Instead, he increased his flying speed. In a flash, he used the thunderclap wings and was already 5 kilometers away. What a fast speed! Don't fail miserably. Hurry up. Xiao Yuan was shocked when he saw Li Lingtian travel 10 miles in an instant. This speed was even faster than a martial emperor's teleportation. With that said, he sped up and chased after Li Lingtian. The other warriors were also worried that Xiao Yuan would take advantage of them and were unwilling to fall behind. In the blink of an eye, 16 martial emperors were flying side by side. Boom! At this moment, a muffled sound was heard between heaven and earth. The muffled sound shook the minds of the 16 martial emperors. What happened? Not good, this is an illusion formation. Why is there an illusion formation here? What a powerful illusion formation. All the martial artists were shocked. At the same time, everyone had already separated. There was no one else beside them. What appeared in front of him was a gray fog with no end in sight. His divine sense was also greatly suppressed. Damn it, why is there an illusion array here? Xiao Yuan's face revealed a shocked expression. He circulated his true essence and extended his divine sense, but his divine sense could only extend 2 miles. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of him. In his line of sight, the young martial arts grandmaster's cultivation had actually reached the 5th level of the martial emperor realm. Die! He was shocked, but he understood. If he wasn't a martial emperor, how could he take out hundreds of millions of spirit stones to go against a spirit alchemist? He circulated his true essence and sent out a powerful attack. At this moment, Nye Tian also realized that the martial arts grandmaster was actually a peak rank 5 martial emperor. Moreover, the powerful attack was coming at him. Boom! With an explosion, the two shocking attacks collided. In the air, Li Lingtian's face cracked into a faint smile. The greatest power of the illusion maze formation was that it allowed a warrior to see their opponents once they entered. Nie Tian and Xiao Yuan looked at each other. They were both the martial arts grandmaster youth that they were chasing after. In other places, the dozen or so martial emperors also met the young man they wanted to kill. They were completely affected by the maze illusion. Naturally, they did not know that Li Lingtian was the one who had set up the illusory formation. They did not believe that a martial arts grandmaster would be so scheming. He would never have thought that the young martial arts grandmaster could cast such a terrifying illusion formation. Boom! Boom! Rumble! The Qinghe alchemist, the immense forest alchemist, and the other martial royal realm experts were all attacking their opponents. There were even two identical opponents in front of him. Chaotic battle, it was definitely a chaotic battle. All! A series of miserable screams sounded from the mountain peak. The shocking screams completely disappeared in the illusion array. 1 minute. All of them will disappear. A cruel smile appeared on Li Lingtian's face as the divine array diagram appeared before him. With a wave of his hands, a series of incantation gestures shot into the void. The labyrinth illusory formation was even more stable now. With 16 martial emperors, even the labyrinth illusory formation would have holes in it. Li Lingtian dared not be careless. He had already thought that since the sects of the Northern Nether Empire dared to scheme against him, he would divert the trouble and let these people kill each other. Then, the Green Wind sect would pay for it. 10 minutes passed. As the last scream from the mountain peak faded, the illusory maze became quiet. Li Lingtian's body flashed and he entered the illusory maze. Yes. Upon seeing the dead powerhouse on the ground, Li Lingtian's divine consciousness stirred and he kept the storage pouch into the divine dragon ring. The corpses of the other warriors were all put into the holy demon ring. After tidying them up a little, he pointed with one hand. The void trembled, and the maze illusion disappeared. The mountain peak appeared again. After finishing everything, his body flashed and he quickly flew towards the Linglong city. The Linglong city was the territory of the Green Wind sect. The Green Wind sect was also entrenched on the Qingfeng mountain, occupying an even larger area than the Sky Cloud sect. 16 corpses landed at the edge of Breeze Mountain. Li Lingtian waved his hand and a shocking metal-type attack shot into the sky. The destructive attack landed on the 16 martial emperors, and they were instantly bombarded beyond recognition. Boom! The earth-shattering explosion alarmed all the warriors of Linglong City and Green Wind sect. Many warriors of Linglong City were extremely shocked. Green Wind sect. Could it be that someone is causing trouble in the Green Wind sect? This is the Green Wind sect's world. Who dares to cause trouble here? Let's go and take a look. Immediately, countless warriors flew towards the mountain. The location of the explosion was at the edge of the mountain, so they naturally went there. What happened? Who is so bold to cause trouble in front of my Green Wind sect? Are you tired of living? You're simply courting death. Some of the Green Wind sect's experts were furious because they could not use their true essence in the Green Wind sect. Even if they cultivated, they could only cultivate in a dedicated cultivation room. Only a martial emperor could make such a shocking explosion. A martial emperor naturally knew the rules of the Green Wind sect. It was definitely not a good thing for such a thing to happen now. When the Green Wind sect's ancient martial art practitioners saw everything in front of their sect, they were all stunned. It was a black hole with a radius of 10 meters and an unknown depth. There were more than 10 corpses on one side. It's the Qing River Spirit Alchemist. This is the Lonling Tower's Xiao Yuan Martial Emperor. This is Nie Tian. For a moment, the experts of the Green Wind sect recognized the identities of the dozen or so martial emperors and were instantly shocked. Why did all these powerful martial emperors fall in their own Green Wind sect? Even the Green Wind sect could not easily kill 16 martial emperors. However, all 16 martial emperors had fallen here. Not good, I've been tricked. This attack is similar to our sect's forbidden metal technique. The few martial monarch realm experts knew that things were not good. At the same time, they saw the black hole not far away. The black hole was emitting a metal elemental aura. Only the Green Wind sect's forbidden art of gold could kill these martial emperors with this metal elemental aura. All of this was completely framed. Now, even if there were 1,000 mouths, they wouldn't be able to explain clearly. Soon, countless warriors of Linglong City also arrived at the edge of Green Wind's sect. When they saw the corpses on the ground, they were all extremely shocked. Every warrior had a strange expression on their faces as they kept sizing up the pitch black hole. Aren't these the martial emperors participating in the auction? One recognized this one. He seems to be a martial monarch powerhouse from the Heaven Roar sect. This is Alchemist Immense Forest. How did they all die here? Could it be a forbidden metal technique? For a time, countless martial artists started discussing. There were thousands of martial artists on the field, and even the Green Wind sect did not dare to offend these martial artists easily. While all the warriors were guessing, Li Lingtian had already left Linglong City and was quickly flying toward Bai Yunhai. He had already obtained the 10,000-year heavenly fire liquid, the pill formula, and the storage bags of 16 martial emperors. However, those martial emperors didn't take their weapons away. Instead, they left them behind. Even though it was obvious that it was a trap, in the divine martial continent, even if they knew that there was a trap, they would still eliminate their opponents for the sake of face. All the experts from the Heaven Roar sect, the Orchid Tune Pavilion, and the Northern Een cult who participated in the auction died in the Green Wind sect at the same time. Only the Green Wind sect did not lose a single person. This infuriated the other 3 sects. Naturally, Li Lingtian understood that even if he failed to divert the trouble, it would not be a big deal since it was a piece of cake. With his speed, he arrived at the coast of the Baiyun Sea in a day. Looking at the shocking waves, his heart was in turmoil. This place was the Northern Nether Empire, so they couldn't use the Heavenly Cloud flying ship. They could only rely on flying swords. In the vast sea, it was indeed impossible without a spaceship, but this was the only way. West of Baiyun Sea, within 100 miles of Qilin Island. Li Lingtian muttered to himself as he flew. Jing Yunqiao told him that the 10,000-year seabed frigid iron was within 100 miles of Qilin Island, but he had to go to the bottom of the sea to get it. It was unknown how deep the seabed was. Moreover, there were mysterious and powerful sea beasts. The strength of the sea beasts was no different from that of demon beasts. Moreover, the sea realm was ruled by sea beasts. Even experts did not dare to enter the sea. A day later, he entered the depths. At first, he could still see countless martial artists hunting sea beasts outside, but the deeper he went, the fewer martial artists he saw. In the depths, level 4 or 5 sea beasts could appear at any time. Even martial emperors did not dare to provoke level 4 or 5 sea beasts easily. In the depths, Li Lingtian found a small spaceship in the storage bag of the 16 martial emperors he had killed. With the spaceship, things would be much easier. Chapter 193, Chapter 193, Searching for Treasures. Chapter 193, Searching for Treasures. Yao Tianjun, is that place you mentioned wrong? In the vast ocean, a huge spaceship was flying at high speed in the same direction as Li Lingtian, heading toward Qilin Island. On the flying ship, Zhua Hao looked at the vast sea. He was also extremely unwilling to be invited to search for precious materials. If it wasn't for the sake of the sect, he would definitely not agree. Brother Zhua, don't worry. We'll reach Qilin Island in 2 days. As long as you stop the others, I'll personally go and collect the 10,000-year seabed frost iron. At that time, I'll give you the 30 million spirit stones one promised. Yao Tianjun smiled. He was a peak 6th level martial emperor and was extremely powerful. For this 10,000-year-old seabed frost iron, he had spent hundreds of millions of spiritual stones from his sect to invite 6 fifth-level martial emperors to help. He understood that although he was a peak 6th-level martial emperor and had great strength, there were countless martial artists who could think of the 10,000-year seabed frost iron. Moreover, as long as he obtained this material, he would be able to enhance his heaven weapon cold light sword and increase its power by a large margin. By then, he would be able to easily defeat a 7th-level martial emperor. Brother Yao, don't forget. This time, there are countless experts who came to fight for this 10,000-year seabed frost iron. We can only try our best to help Brother Yao block the other experts. Regardless of whether Brother Yao gets the frost ice iron or not, you have to pay us 30 million low-grade spirit stones. Even a 5th-level martial emperor like him couldn't afford 30 million lower spiritual stones. He could only get 30 million lower spiritual stones to fight against some experts. Why not? Brother Hua is right. 30 million low-grade spirit stones. We have to take the risk of offending the experts of other sections. It doesn't count. We only agreed to this because of Brother Yao. Zhao Yunhai nodded. They were 5th-level martial emperors, and they had to stand on the side when they helped a powerhouse at the peak of 6th-level martial emperor. Otherwise, not only would they not be rewarded, they might even lose their lives. Brothers, don't worry. Regardless of whether I get the 10,000-year frost iron or not, I will definitely give you 30 million spirit stones. Yao Tianjun cursed in his heart. If it wasn't for the 10 millennium seabed frigid iron, he wouldn't have spent more than 100 million spiritual stones to invite a few martial emperors at the 5th level. They wouldn't have let a few rank 5 martial emperors talk nonsense here. They cursed in their hearts. If they got the 10,000-year frost iron, they would suffer. Then, the flying ship flew quickly. There was no longer any sound on it, and the few super experts began to meditate and rest. 2 days was just enough time to recharge. As the flying ship moved forward, they would occasionally encounter 1 or 2 experts flying into the distance. They all understood that these experts were all going for the 10,000-year-old seabed frost iron. As Li Lingtian flew, he kept an eye out for more than a dozen powerhouses. All of them were tier 4 martial emperors and above. Each of the super powerhouses exuded a powerful aura. When they saw that Li Lingtian was merely a martial arts grandmaster, they looked at him with disdain. Li Lingtian did not mind. If they looked down on him now, he would make them tremble in fear. That would be the best revenge. The spaceship was no different from the plane in his previous life. It just looked different. This spaceship was no different from an aircraft carrier. However, their power source was different. The energy source of an aircraft carrier was oil, while the power source of a spaceship was spirit stones. After Li Lingtian refined the spaceship for a while, he was able to control it easily. The spaceship flew at a high speed while he meditated and rested on it. The flying ship flew in the same direction. In this vast sea, it would not be so coincidental if they wanted to collide with each other. As they ventured deeper into the sea, although they encountered fewer and fewer martial artists, the number of martial artists gathered here increased. On the 3rd day, Li Lingtian arrived at a huge island. It was more like a huge continent than an island. It was an independent continent with an unknown radius, and divine sense was unable to envelop the entire island. On the island, Li Lingtian flew around it once and estimated that it was at least the size of Sky Dragon City. An island like this was rich in spiritual energy. There were no demonic beasts or low-level wild beasts. Subsequently, Li Lingtian found a secluded place to settle down. There were more than 100 warriors on the island, all of whom were martial royal realm powerhouses. He didn't need to go to the trouble of finding the 10,000-year-old seabed frigid ice iron. Naturally, some super experts would go there. As long as he found the 10,000-year-old seabed frost iron, it wouldn't be too late for him to make a move. Moreover, these martial artists were all here for the 10 millennium seabed frost iron. Whoever got this material first would definitely be cannon fodder. He was extremely experienced in this, and he definitely did not have the wisdom of a young man. The other martial artists had the same thoughts as him. When they did not see the item, they would not waste their energy and did not want to become cannon fodder. However, he didn't rest for long before a huge flying ship descended from the sky. This flying ship wasn't inferior to the heavenly cloud flying ship. The spaceship landed, and 7 martial royal realm experts walked down from it. Each of them was a rank 5 martial royal realm expert, and the one leading them was a peak rank 6 martial royal realm expert. His strength was terrifying. The arrival of these 7 martial artists immediately attracted the attention of all the experts. Moreover, the martial artists' faces revealed a solemn expression. Most of the martial emperors who came here were at the first or second level of the martial emperor realm. There were also 3 or 4 levels. The most powerful one was at the 5th level of the martial emperor realm. However, the few people who came now were all rank 5 martial emperors and peak rank 6 experts. Such a combination was definitely an invincible existence. Although there were many martial artists present, not many of them were working together. They were basically all independent. After the 7 martial emperors came down, the rank 6 martial emperor in the lead waved his hand and put away the spaceship. He sized up the sea area and completely ignored the other experts. In the end, the Type 6 expert took out a huge compass. The appearance of the compass caused a strange suction force to appear. This suction force directly absorbed the metal element of heaven and earth. With a flash of golden light, all metal element items would be sensed by this compass. Iron-absorbing compass, I see. Li Lingtian was shocked. This world knew how to use magnets to create treasures. It would be much easier to find the 10 millennium seabed frost steel this way. With the sensing of the metal attribute, the power of the magnet, and the cultivation of a warrior, even the IO-year-old seabed frost iron that was hundreds of miles deep under the sea could be sensed. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In the air, waves of metal elemental aura broke through the air and entered the sea. Dozens of metal elemental auras entered the sea, and after a full 2 minutes, the Type 6 expert revealed a look of disappointment, before quickly fleeing in another direction. They began to search the area. All the warriors were watching the 7 warriors searching for the whereabouts of the 10 millennium seabed frosty iron. Li Lingtian's eyes were fixed on the Tier 6 warrior leading the group, observing the powerhouse's expression. Seconds ticked by and the few warriors had already searched the area within 100 miles. At that moment, Li Lingtian's face froze for a moment before he calmed down. This was because he noticed that the expression of the Tier 6 martial royal powerhouse had changed. The change was fleeting, but it did not escape Li Lingtian's eyes. Then, the 6th level martial emperor continued to search for the whereabouts of the 10,000-year frost iron with the compass. The few of them flew in another direction. All the powerhouses followed the 7 powerhouses as they flew away. Li Lingtian's expression turned odd under his cloak. You actually came to play such a trick. Li Lingtian watched as all the warriors left. He stood up and looked in a certain direction in the sea. Then, his body flashed and he flew into the distance. Tisk! With a slight sound, he entered the sea. Li Lingtian quickly sank into the icy cold water before he shot off in a certain direction. The direction he was swimming towards was the place where the leading martial royal realm powerhouse had started his search. Although the place had been abandoned, Li Lingtian did not give up. That martial emperor was just setting up a trap. He had already found the approximate location, but he wanted to take everyone away. The further down he went, the stronger the pressure became. He didn't know how many meters he had sunk, and the powerful sea beasts he encountered all avoided him. He didn't want to kill the sea beasts in this place. As long as there was any movement, the other warriors would know. Obediently, what kind of sea beast is this? As Li Lingtian descended, his vision turned black as if he had encountered a pitch-black mountain peak. However, he could clearly sense that the black fellow before him was a sea beast. It was much bigger than the infant carp beast from before. Its entire body was pitch black, and it was unknown how big it was. Seeing this sea beast, he quickly hid his aura and swam far away to avoid this big guy. True dragon protection. After leaving the huge sea beast, the pressure in the sea area became stronger and stronger. Moreover, there were still some Type 2 and Type 3 sea beasts that continued to shuttle over. Although he was only a Tier 2 or Tier 3 expert, he was still equivalent to a warrior spirit or a warrior king. In the sea area, he had lost his geographical advantage, so he naturally could not be careless. Fortunately, he was at the peak of the 5 elements, and his ice element was also water. In the sea realm, he had more advantages than others. In the face of the powerful pressure, he could only use the true dragon body protection. With the protection of the true dragon, the pressure on his body instantly disappeared. He turned into a fish and flew towards the bottom of the sea. The further down he went, the more cold he felt. It was not much, but it was very cold. Just like the ice flame, although it was not huge, it could destroy the world. What a dense chill. This frost ice iron should be here. Li Ling Tian thought to himself as he circulated the heaven and earth reincarnation technique in his body. After attaining the 5 elements perfection, his true essence was not divided into attributes. The type of technique he used would be the type of true essence. Although he encountered the cold air, he circulated his true essence and used 2 attributes to resist it. One was the power of flames, and the other was the power of ice. Chapter 194, Chapter 194, Freezing Meteor Rock, 1. Chapter 194, Freezing Meteor Rock, 1. If this cold air was in front of others, it would definitely be fatal. However, it was nothing to him. As time passed, Li Ling Tian landed on the seabed. The endless mud at the bottom of the sea could not stop the warrior's divine consciousness. He began to scan the bottom of the sea inch by inch with his divine sense. Ha! At that moment, Li Ling Tian exclaimed in surprise. In his divine consciousness, he saw a pitch-black seabed with a radius of 100 meters. The other places were filled with soil and boulders, but that place was a whole piece of pitch-black seabed. Moreover, this seabed was not soil or boulders, but cold iron. With a flash of his body, a ball of light protected his entire body. He quickly dived into the bottom of the sea, his entire body covered in mud. Soon, he arrived in front of the huge piece of cold iron. This was not just a piece of cold iron, it was clearly a cold iron mountain. It was like the bottom of a huge sea. This cold iron would be buried in the mud. It was impossible for the martial artists outside to find it unless the martial artist used a compass. Millennium Cold Steel. Li Ling Tian felt the quality of the cold steel and a hint of disappointment appeared on his face. This was cold steel, not frost steel or 10,000-year-old frost steel. His divine sense moved inch by inch, scanning the entire 100-meter-wide piece of cold iron. Just as he was about to give up, he frowned and revealed a hint of surprise on his face. He quickly flew to the other side of the cold iron. Freezing Sky Meteor. Li Ling Tian looked at the side of the cold steel. The quality of the cold steel was slightly different from the other parts. Furthermore, the cold air was emanating from this place. The freezing sky meteor came from the human realm upon heavens. The freezing sky meteor had to be attracted to a certain location, otherwise it wouldn't have landed. Rise! He smiled when he found that the cold iron was actually a heavenly frost meteorite. He moved his consciousness and an emperor weapon appeared in his hand. He waved his hands and started to dig along the edge of the cold iron as if he was digging the ground. After a full 10 minutes, he had dug a 100-meter deep hole under the cold iron, and his body quickly sank. After 100 meters, he finally saw the cold iron. He was shocked. This cold iron was completely cubic. 100 meters wide, 100 meters long, and 100 meters tall. How heavy was this? Cold iron was 100 times heavier than ordinary refined iron. Such a small piece of cold iron weighed billions of pounds. Even a martial god would be crushed to death by this weight. He was not only shocked by this, but also shocked by other places. In his eyes, this huge piece of cold iron was suppressing an array altar. No one knew what was under the array altar because there was only one corner of the array altar. Moreover, this corner was indeed the real IO-year-old seabed frost iron. This frost iron was attracted by the frost iron and landed here. F***ck, how am I supposed to move it away with such a huge piece of cold iron pressing down on me? Li Lingtian plopped onto the ground. His heart sank as he looked at the mountain of cold steel. He couldn't take away the cold iron within a radius of 10,000 cubic meters. If he wanted to obtain the 10,000-year frost iron, he had to move this huge piece of frost iron away. He looked at the cold steel helplessly. There was nothing he could do. He naturally would not be stupid enough to call out a few demon beasts. Even if a few demon beasts came out, they would not be able to move the cold steel. Try it. Li Lingtian thought for a long time but could not come up with a solution. However, a thought struck him. What would happen if he were to refine this cold steel as a treasure? Thinking of this, his face revealed a trace of anticipation. His divine sense moved and began to sense this cold iron, but after a long time, there was no movement. The expression on his face also became ugly. Wasn't he an idiot? He actually sensed it with a stone. Sacrifice. If his spiritual sense was not enough, he would use his blood essence. With a wave of his hand, he made a cut with his 10 fingers. A trace of blood essence wrapped in true essence surged towards the cold iron. What he didn't expect happened. The originally huge cold steel actually trembled like a bubble, as if it didn't have any weight. Li Lingtian's face was filled with shock as he focused all his attention on sensing the cold steel with his blood essence. In the center of the cold steel, a spirituality appeared. This spirituality was ownerless, just like a hazy baby. Li Lingtian began to practice his divine consciousness and the spirituality within it. The other party tried to communicate with Li Lingtian's divine consciousness. After a full 10 minutes, the smile on Li Lingtian's face widened. Yes. He withdrew his move and opened the divine dragon ring. His face was solemn. A gray light gradually swallowed the cold iron and finally disappeared into the divine dragon ring. After doing everything, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Although he was the master of the divine dragon ring, this cold iron was too heavy. He had put it in, but his mind was also shocked. At that moment, the cold steel disappeared and the array altar beneath the cold steel was completely exposed to Li Lingtian's sight. It was a 100-meter wide array altar that was also made of mysterious refined iron. In the center of the array altar was a 1-meter-long pitch-black crystal. The pitch-black crystal flickered with a pitch-black radiance. Shocking cold air shot up into the sky. Wherever the cold air passed, the seawater turned into ice. Li Lingtian's body was emitting a faint glow. The cold air did not affect him at all. Moreover, sensing this cold air was extremely beneficial to his cultivation. 10,000-year frost iron, this is 10,000-year frost iron. Li Lingtian stared at the block of frigid ice iron in a daze. This was the 10,000-year frigid ice iron he was looking for. He didn't expect that there would be such a huge piece of frost iron. He wondered how many magical arrays it would take to build such a huge piece of frost iron. He had thought that a fist-sized piece of IO-year-old frigid ice iron would be enough, but the frigid ice iron in front of him was thousands of times bigger than what he needed. Not good. Just as they were stunned, the shocking cold air had already attracted countless experts. After sensing the shocking cold air, how could these martial royal realm experts not understand that there must be a magical item below? Li Lingtian sensed over 100 powerful auras shooting toward him. He had a bad feeling as the aura of the frigid ice iron had attracted the attention of the martial monarch on the island. However, it was too late to regret now. The frost iron was on the array altar. Even if he knew array formations, he could not take it away in a short period of time. In an instant, streams of divine perception swept over. Soon after, all the warriors appeared around Li Lingtian. It's you. Li Lingtian. It's Li Lingtian. Why are you here? This is the territory of the Northern Nether Empire. Do you want to cross the border? What is it? Li Lingtian from Sky Dragon Empire. The cloak on Li Lingtian's head had long since been overturned by the seawater. In the end, Li Lingtian kept it. Many powerhouses who came here knew Li Lingtian. Although he had never seen it with his own eyes, Li Lingtian's fame was world-shaking. Many sects, clans, and higher-ups had portraits of Li Lingtian. It was best not to provoke him. The portrait was meant to warn the disciples not to provoke Li Lingtian. They never expected to see the legendary figure that the three great empires feared in this place. At that moment, many warriors looked fearful. They did not dare to get too close to Li Lingtian lest they were killed. This Ling Tian was known as the #1 existence in Sky Dragon Empire and the nemesis of martial monarchs. However, when they saw the 10,000-year frigid ice iron in the center of the array altar, they revealed greedy expressions. There was also a deep fear in their greed. Some powerhouses who did not know Li Lingtian were puzzled as to why so many martial emperors were afraid of a Tier 1 martial arts grandmaster youth. Yao Tianjun was one of them. He was at the peak of the 6th-level martial emperor realm and could be said to be the most powerful existence here. Humph, look at your behavior. How dare you act like this in front of a child who's a martial arts grandmaster? How embarrassing. Li Lingtian, right? Get lost, this piece of 10,000-year frost iron is mine. Yao Tianjun said loudly. Although there was a strong pressure and surging waves in the sea area, it was almost a vacuum in front of these Force Emperors. When Yao Tianjun said that, 3 of the other 6 Force Emperors beside him smiled, while the other 3 changed their faces drastically. They subconsciously took a step away from Yao Tianjun. Li Lingtian had even defeated young Master Ming Xiao and almost lost his life in the end. More than half of the army was destroyed by Li Lingtian with just a single sentence. A Tier 5 martial emperor was killed in an instant while a Tier 6 Shiman Xian was toyed to death by his pet. What was even more terrifying was that Li Lingtian had a Tier 6 Demon King Beast by his side. A Tier 6 Demon King Beast was equivalent to a martial honor. You guys. Yao Tianjun and the other Force Emperors felt that something was wrong when they saw the reactions of the people around them. Some Force Emperors even gloated. Brother Yao, it's not that I don't want to help you, but I'm really sorry. Our deal is over. Zhua Hao's expression changed a few times. Without hesitation, he said and then moved far away from Yao Tianjun. Brother Yao, I'm really sorry. I'm the same as Brother Zhua. The deal is over. You can only blame yourself for saying something you shouldn't have. Seeing Zhua Hao leave, Hua Qingfeng also left Yao Tianjun without hesitation. That's right. Brother Yao has been in closed-door cultivation for the past few years and doesn't know what happened in Green Continent. However, Brother Yao has offended someone he shouldn't have offended. I'm sorry for being rude. Zhao Yunhai left Yao Tianjun quickly like the other two. For a moment, the atmosphere at the bottom of the sea was extremely strange. Yao Tianjun was also stunned. He did not expect that these 3 martial emperors would give up the 30 million spiritual stones at this time. Moreover, it was for a young martial arts grandmaster. He had only said some words that a martial emperor should say. He did not expect these people to give up so easily. He looked at the other martial emperors who were all smiling. However, Yao Tianjun could clearly feel that they were gloating. Chapter 195, Chapter 195, Breaking the Formation. Chapter 195, Breaking the Formation. It's none of your business. I'm in a good mood today, so one won't argue with you. When the time comes, we can compete fairly. However, you are not qualified to compete with me. Leave this place in 10 seconds. Li Lingtian wore a harmless smile on his face as he glanced at the martial emperors around him. Wherever his gaze passed, they would lower their noble heads. Finally, his eyes fell on Yao Tianjun. His powerful soul consciousness, ice soul martial spirit, and flaming sacred body made his eyes as sharp as swords. Yao Tianjun's heart trembled. He had such a feeling when facing a young man who was a martial arts grandmaster. His sixth sense told him that this young man was too terrifying. What? When Yao Tianjun heard Li Lingtian's words, he was stunned and thought he had misheard. Was this what a young martial arts grandmaster would say to a level 6 martial emperor? That was impossible. However, looking at the expressions of the other martial emperors, he knew that he had not misheard. The other party was not wrong either. They were just blatantly threatening him. However, the other party did not say a single word of threat. Even so, it was more powerful than 1,000 words of threat. For a moment, he did not react at all. He was furious. He was the strongest martial emperor here, yet he was humiliated by a martial arts grandmaster in front of hundreds of experts. He spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was deathly pale as he glared at Li Lingtian. As time passed, the atmosphere at the bottom of the sea became strangely oppressive. None of the martial emperors dared to say a word, not even daring to breathe loudly. Yao Tianjun glared fiercely at Li Lingtian. He was a super powerhouse and an old monster. He immediately understood that something must have happened that he was unaware of, since so many martial emperors were so afraid of this young man. Although he was furious, he did not dare to act rashly. If he lost, he would lose face. If he won, the other party was just a young martial grandmaster. It was an unfair victory. Boom! At the bottom of the sea, the endless sea water trembled. A huge demonic beast appeared in the sea water and stirred up a destructive wave. Over 100 martial emperors were also sent flying. A shocking pressure pressed down on the sea. All the martial emperors were frightened. They burst out and flew away quickly. When they saw that the Demon King beast didn't move, they stopped and watched from afar. Yao Tianjun spat out another mouthful of blood. His face was pale and his eyes were filled with fear. He was at the peak of the 6th level martial emperor, and his strength was comparable to a 7th level martial emperor. However, he was nothing but an ant in front of this Demon King beast. 6th rank King beast. Yao Tianjun finally understood that he was too stupid. There must be a reason why all the martial emperors were afraid of a young martial arts grandmaster. Yet, he had to provoke this young man. Wasn't he courting death? Good, very good. You win. Yao Tianjun looked at the Devil King beast and glared at Li Lingtian. He felt extremely indignant. However, as a peak 6th tier martial emperor, he had lost all will to fight against a 6th tier Devil King beast. With that, he turned to leave but was stopped by Li Lingtian. You want to leave? It's too late now. 10 seconds have passed. It's impossible for you to leave now. Stay here. Those who were arrogant in front of me have already laid down. I naturally won't let you jump around in front of me. The smile on Li Lingtian's face grew even wider, but his tone was devoid of any leeway. His voice was calm and he had no intention of making a move. However, his eyes were fixed on the hill-like Demon King beast. As if it had received an order, the Demon King beast's body was filled with shocking demonic chi, and the sea water in the sea area began to boil. The seemingly cumbersome Demon King beast was extremely agile in the sea. In the blink of an eye, it arrived in front of Yao Tianjun and bombarded him with a shocking pressure. Rumble! The seawater exploded, and all the martial emperors looked terrified as they watched the Demon King beast kill Yao Tianjun. A peak rank 6 martial emperor was indeed a super expert. However, in front of a rank 6, even a peak rank 9 martial emperor would be courting death, let alone a rank 6 martial emperor. The difference between a martial emperor and a martial honor was like heaven and earth. Li Lingtian completely ignored the battle between the Demon King beast and Yao Tianjun. Instead, he focused all his attention on the array altar with a hint of excitement on his face. This piece of 1,000-year-old frost iron was indeed a heaven-shaking heavenly treasure. It was already extremely precious when it was the size of a fist. He did not expect that a 1,000-year-old frost iron that was 1 meter in size would appear now. Heaven is Qian and earth is Kuan. Heaven and earth are heaven and earth. Heaven and earth are not divided. It's chaotic. Yin and yang are the heaven and earth. The heaven and earth are divided into yin and yang, suppressing all kinds of demons and ghosts. Li Lingtian looked at the array formation on the altar. A strange array altar came to life in his eyes and mysterious information appeared before his eyes. Boom! At this moment, a loud explosion was heard, followed by a miserable scream. The Devil King Beast's huge palms slapped on Yao Tianjuan's head, and his body was smashed into pieces. A powerhouse at the peak of the 6th level of the Martial Emperor realm had died so easily. Roar! The Demon King Beast's eyes gleamed with pride. With a grab of its huge palm, a storage pouch and a treasure returned to its hand. Finally, it came to Li Lingtian's side to inspect it. All the martial emperors could only watch Li Lingtian break the array. Many warriors knew that Li Lingtian was the legendary Holy Array Master. With the protection of the Devil King Beast, none of the martial emperors dared to step forward. A 6th-level martial emperor was killed in a moment. How could they dare to come forward and take the 10,000-year frost iron? Li Lingtian did not take it to heart that a Tier 6 martial emperor was killed by his pet. It was as if the fall of a Tier 6 martial emperor had nothing to do with him. He looked at the array altar with all his attention. Information flashed through his mind. The layman was watching the show, and the expert was watching the road. Powerhouses who did not know Array Dao could only see Li Lingtian standing in front of the array altar in a daze. Meanwhile, a few powerhouses who knew Array Dao were shocked. They could also see the fluctuation of the array on the array altar, but they could not see through the array. They were shocked to see that Li Lingtian was actually comprehending the array. Hearing Hua Qingfeng's words, all the martial emperors were shocked. Although Hua Qingfeng was not the strongest among the martial emperors here, he was not weak either. He was a level 5 martial emperor. If even Hua Qingfeng had become like this, it was obvious what kind of powerful beings were down there. Immediately, all the martial royal generals turned to look at Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian was invincible here. If he could not do anything about it, they would have to give up. This young master will try. If you don't plan to go down or don't want to suffer the destructive disaster, then leave immediately. Otherwise, this young master won't be polite. If you want to take the risk with this young master is not an unreasonable person. I will definitely not let you suffer. Li Lingtian pondered for a moment. Since it was not the Asmodeans down there, he might as well give it a try. However, when he went down, he definitely wouldn't let anyone around him stare at him like a tiger eyeing its prey. He would either go down and take the risk or leave quickly. Otherwise, he would not mind the Demon King Beast lulling him again. Alright, I'll take the risk with Sir Ling Tian. If young noble Ling Tian isn't afraid, then it's no big deal for me to risk my old life. I can go with Sir Ling Tian. I'll stay too. All of a sudden, the 30 or so martial emperors started to ponder. After considering the pros and cons, they decided to stay and see what was going on. Hua Qingfeng also agreed. Although his soul consciousness was attacked, he still wanted to know what was down there. Following that, Li Lingtian began to ponder on how he should destroy the array altar. Divine Array Diagram, activate. After a long time, all the martial emperors looked at Li Lingtian, wondering if he had any way to break the array altar. However, when Li Lingtian took out the divine array diagram, all the martial monarchs were shocked. This was the divine array diagram that Li Lingtian had used in the battle against young Master Ming Xiao during the Great Battle of Sky Dragon City. Its power was amazing. If Li Lingtian was not a powerhouse from Sky Dragon Empire, they would have admired and worshipped him. This 17 or 18-year-old young man was not only a monster who killed a martial monarch powerhouse, but he was also a Tier 4 alchemy grandmaster and a mysterious holy array master. Power of the 5 elements. You guys balance the power of the 5 elements and work together to open the array altar. Li Lingtian activated the divine array blueprint and cast array formations one after another. A mysterious and powerful light enveloped the array altar. The array altar began to tremble. However, he did not have the ability to activate the array altar alone. He needed the power of the 5 elements. He was also at the 5 elements perfection, but he would not reveal his true abilities at a time like this. If he wanted to take a risk, he would have to work together. If he worked alone, he would have to be a fool. Alright. I am a metal type. I'm a fire type. I have the wood element. All of a sudden, everyone revealed their main attributes. There were more than 30 Artial emperors with all kinds of attributes and martial souls. There were 9 types of martial souls. The martial souls of the 5 elements were ale in these martial souls. The 5 of you will be enough. You guys protect us and don't let the sea beasts disturb us. Li Lingtian did not stand on ceremony. He chose 5 martial emperors from the 30 over martial emperors. These were the strongest among them. The other martial emperors were sent out to stop some sea beasts. Although these sea beasts didn't mean to attack, they were still affected by their sudden intrusion. Power of the 5 elements, activate. The 5 martial emperors unleashed their true essence and slowly suppressed the true Yuan array altar. They cooperated with Li Lingtian to activate the array altar. Li Lingtian cast a series of mysterious incantations as he chanted a mysterious and obscure chant. Boom! As time passed, the 5 martial emperors' true essence was almost depleted. At that moment, Li Lingtian placed the last point on the array altar and a shocking explosion was heard. The 10-year-old frost iron soared into the sky. A square piece of 10-year-old frost iron shot out with a shocking cold air. The array altar also exploded in the explosion. The 5 martial emperors were sent flying and spat out a mouthful of blood. Chapter 196, Chapter 196, Golden Skeleton. Chapter 196, Golden Skeleton. Li Lingtian watched as the 10,000-year frost iron flew up. He extended one hand and put away the divine array diagram. At the same time, he activated the divine dragon ring and a shocking suction force appeared, sucking the 10,000-year frost iron into it. Although the 10 millennium frigid ice iron was not refined by his divine consciousness, Li Lingtian took advantage of the power of his ascension to retrieve it. The moment the 10,000-year frost iron was taken away, a destructive pressure came from the sea. This pressure came from below the array altar. After the array altar disappeared, a huge gray hole appeared. The size of the hole was almost the same as the array altar. This is the aura, this is the aura. Hua Qingfeng shouted out in a trembling voice as if he had seen a ghost. When he said that, all the martial emperors had been crushed by this pressure. In this pressure, martial emperors were worse than ants. All the martial emperors were pressed onto the ground of the sea area. They couldn't move at all, not even their fingers. Li Lingtian spat out a mouthful of blood as his face turned pale. He had never seen such a pressure before. Moreover, this pressure was somewhat familiar. When he met the Nine-Yang Saint Lord, the Nine-Yang Saint Lord's phantom had such an aura. However, the Saint Lord of Nine-Yang was only a consciousness and a soul. Otherwise, he would have been crushed to death. Divine pressure. Li Lingtian muttered to himself as the expression of horror on his face changed continuously. No wonder this place was suppressed by the natural gravity formation. It turned out that there were real gods here that the divine martial continent could not touch. Flaming sacred body, 9 suns sacred flame. Thinking of the Nine-Yang Saint Lord, he circulated his fire martial soul. He had the flaming sacred body and had fused with the immemorial ice crystal. The fusion of the ice crystal and the flames, coupled with the Nine-Yang Saint Lord's soul, had a certain resistance against this kind of oppressive aura. Are you guys going down? Li Lingtian felt much more relaxed after he kept the oppressive aura around him at bay. He then shouted at the other martial emperors. However, after shouting, he felt that he was dumbfounded. More than 30 martial emperors were being suppressed. It was impossible for him to move at all. In front of this pressure, it was impossible to even leave, let alone continue. Sir Lingtian, I'll need you to make a move this time. This pressure is extending from the bottom. If we want to break this pressure, we can only start from the source. Zhao Linhai revealed a bitter smile. In front of this pressure, they were even inferior to ants. However, he was shocked to see how relaxed Li Lingtian was. A young man who was a martial arts grandmaster did not pose any threat in the face of such pressure. Moreover, he still wanted to go down. This was infuriating. This young master will have a slim chance of survival if I go down. If I can come back alive, you can also leave. If this young master can't come out, you can only pray for your own good fortune. With a faint smile on his face, Li Lingtian's body flashed and disappeared in the blink of an eye. He then entered the hole left behind by the array altar. Li Lingtian felt a tinge of regret when he entered the cave. The pressure outside the cave could easily crush a martial emperor to death. The pressure inside the cave was countless times stronger than the outside. The deeper they went, the stronger the pressure became. Even he could feel the crushing pressure of destruction. However, it was too late to go back on his word. It was impossible for him to come out. His body kept falling. He spat out a mouthful of blood and his body landed on the ground. After landing, he was shocked to find that this was a palace, unlike the bottom of the sea. Seawater could not enter through the hole. Inside the palace, the destructive pressure continued to crush him. At that moment, Li Lingtian could feel the few treasures in his dantian vibrating as if they had seen a delicious meal. The Heaven Extreme Tyrant Emperor Saber, the Roaring Dragon Combat Halberd, and the Heaven and Earth Creation Cauldron were all trembling. Li Lingtian smiled bitterly at the sight. With a flick of his divine consciousness, 3 treasures flew out. There was no other way. If he did not take out the 3 treasures, although he had fused with the treasures, they would also break out of his body. The 3 treasures floated in the air and kept spinning. The pressure and aura in the palace were constantly devoured by the 3 treasures. Yes, devour. Li Lingtian suddenly understood that his 3 treasures were also divine artifacts. Naturally, he liked the aura. However, the divine dragon ring didn't react to this aura at all. Instead, it formed an independent space. This aura and pressure couldn't get close to the divine dragon ring. The pressure became thinner and thinner. In the end, all the pressure disappeared and entered the 3 treasures. Shoo! At the bottom of the sea, more than 30 martial emperors heaved a sigh of relief. The disappearance of the pressure lifted them from their despair, and their faces were filled with horror. Finally disappeared. What is this aura? Even a martial saint or martial god doesn't have such an aura. Could it be the aura of a god? God's aura. Only this kind of aura can make sense. That's not important. What's important is that he actually ignored this aura and pressure. You should know that no matter how powerful a martial artist is, they are all treated equally in the face of pressure unless they have some heaven-defying treasure or physique. You mean to say that he has something to do with this aura? Of course. Otherwise, a 17-year-old young man who has reached the martial arts grandmaster realm and easily killed a martial emperor would only be able to explain this aura. All of a sudden, more than 30 martial emperors were shocked, more and more shocked. To be able to deal with such an aura, he was definitely a heaven-defying existence. At least, a martial emperor could not be so heaven-defying. Do you want to go down and take a look? Hua Qingfeng asked. He was aware of the danger down there, but since Li Lingtian could deal with the aura, he must have a way to survive down there. He wanted to go down and take a look as well. However, after he finished speaking, all the martial emperors fell silent. They didn't know whether they should go down or leave. Li Lingtian watched from below as the pressure dissipated. He felt a sense of relief as the 3 treasures floated in the air. He took the 3 treasures and slowly walked forward. He threw a pill into his mouth to recover his shaken mind. After walking for an unknown period of time, Li Lingtian had already explored the entire palace. Rather than calling it a palace, it was more like a square, a sealed square. It was a square with a radius of 1,000 meters. There was nothing in the square. However, at this moment, a 5-meter-wide staircase suddenly appeared in the center of the square. The staircase slowly rose. Finally, he stopped when he was 5 meters high. Li Lingtian's heart sank when he saw everything on the stairs. This was because there was a middle-aged man in green sitting cross-legged on the steps. He looked solemn. Although he was sitting in an ordinary posture and didn't emit any aura or life force, this middle-aged man gave people the urge to worship him. Junior Li Lingtian greets Senior. In his shock, Li Lingtian did not dare to bow at all. Instead, he quickly bowed to the man on the central steps. Li Lingtian could not imagine the man's strange appearance when he thought of the mysterious and shocking pressure. I'm Li Lingtian. Greetings, Senior. I've trespassed into your cultivation cave abode by mistake. Please forgive me. Li Lingtian saluted again. However, a thought crossed his mind. This middle-aged man must have passed away. Otherwise, why would there be no life force or any movement? However, even so, he did not dare to be careless. After all, he could not be rude before he confirmed the life and death of the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man did not show any signs of movement even after 5 consecutive salutations. Li Lingtian continued walking forward step by step. Finally, he came to the front of the steps. In front of the steps, he carefully used his divine sense. His divine sense swept across the middle-aged man's body, and a destructive pressure erupted. What was even more powerful was that destructive divine sense, which was countless times stronger than his own. His divine sense was shaken and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His consciousness gradually blurred. No! Li Lingtian gritted his teeth as he shouted indignantly. He then cast the divine array diagram and a formation appeared around him, enveloping him within. He circulated all the true essence in his body and began to use a cultivation technique to stabilize his mind and soul. After a full 10 minutes, he gradually regained consciousness. His face was pale, and when he looked at the middle-aged man, he was even more afraid. This man had been dead for an unknown period of time, but the powerful divine sense that was left behind in this man's body had made him almost invincible. When Li Lingtian looked at the middle-aged man again, he had already disappeared. The middle-aged man didn't disappear, but he had already fallen on the stairs. His face had also turned into a skeleton, a golden skeleton. The green robe was still on his body. If his face hadn't turned into a skeleton, he wouldn't even know if this middle-aged man was really dead. After resting for a moment, Li Lingtian waved his hand and put away the array. He then slowly walked up the stairs, his heart trembling. Li Lingtian felt a little more relaxed when he reached the top of the stairs because he was certain that the man in green was dead. It had even turned into a skeleton, a golden skeleton. Could it be an expert above the martial god realm? That's impossible. Even if it's a martial god expert, the skeleton that they turn into after death will gradually decay. However, this expert is a golden skeleton. He must be an expert above the martial god realm. Li Lingtian muttered to himself. He knew a lot about the divine martial continent. The skeletons of powerhouses above the martial god realm were tens of thousands of times stronger than ordinary warriors after their deaths. Golden skeletons were something that only powerhouses above the martial god realm had. Chapter 197, Chapter 197, Divinity, 1. Chapter 197, Divinity, 1. Limitless Feather Coat. At that moment, Li Lingtian's gaze fell on the middle-aged man's clothes. It was a green robe on the outside, which was also a treasure. However, a corner of it was revealed under the green robe. This corner alone was enough to shock him. At the same time, he recognized the origin of this robe. This robe was a treasured robe passed down from ancient times. It was called the Limitless Feather Robe. This treasured robe was impervious to swords and spears, water and fire, and could also negate the attacks of martial artists. It was definitely a treasure that was above a divine artifact. He did not expect this treasure to be on this man. He separated his soul consciousness and sent a wisp of it to the golden skeleton. However, when his divine sense landed on the golden skeleton, he did not resist at all. The destructive divine sense attack that he had launched earlier also disappeared. Junior has been disrespectful. This treasure is no longer useful to Senior. Junior can't waste it. Li Lingtian extended his hand and infused his true essence into it. He then grabbed the golden skeleton and plucked the limitless feather coat. He naturally would not let go of a treasure like the limitless feather coat. Ding! Just as he took off the limitless feather coat, a crisp voice sounded. The sound was like a pearl dropping to the ground. Li Lingtian was stunned when he looked in the direction of the sound. An octagonal crystal was lying on the ground, but the dust and aura were far away from the crystal. The crystal was emitting a faint glow. Divine spark. Divine spark, the real divine spark. Li Lingtian shouted frantically. He could not hold it in any longer. Even if he had gotten the divine dragon ring, a treasure, or a cultivation technique that was similar to the canon, he would not have been so excited. But in front of this crystal, he couldn't help it. Because he discovered this crystal, it was as if he had entered the immortal god realm. Even if he was a fool, he understood the origin of this crystal. He had seen Saint Lord Jiuyang before, and he had also come from the 21st century. He was no longer surprised by all kinds of mysterious things. He also believed that there was a true God in this world in the past. He also saw the soul of the Nine-Yang Saint Lord, but he was not as shocked as when he saw the divine spark. This crystal was the divine spark described in the legends. Only true gods would have divine sparks. A real god was an existence that transcended the mortals of the divine martial continent. This was a legend, but this legendary real god had fallen here. The shock on Li Lingtian's face turned numb as he looked at the divinity. He then carefully opened the divine dragon ring and took out a brocade box. The brocade box was a treasure made of ice. When he left the ice dragon hall last time, he had pried away a huge ice sculpture. This ice sculpture could never melt. Not even flames could melt it, unless it was a heavenly flame. This godhead was left behind by a true god, just like the golden core formed in the dantian of a martial arts grandmaster. The more powerful one was, the stronger the Jin Dan would be. It was the same for this godhead. This divine spark is the myriad spirit divine spark. Li Lingtian was shocked when he saw the divinity on the ground. He then used an ice sculpture box to store the divinity into the divine dragon ring. A divine vessel was the inner core of an expert. Every expert only had one inner core, which was their own heavenly soul. This divinity wasn't of the 5 elements, nor was it of a mutated attribute. It was the mysterious 10,000 spirit divinity. Such a godhead was not part of the 5 elements, but it was similar to any of the 5 elements. However, it was at most similar to a wood-type martial soul. If his strength increased in the future, he could fuse with this divine persona and become a real god above the martial god realm. He collected his emotions and looked at the golden skeleton carefully. Then, with a respectful expression, he put the golden skeleton into the divine dragon ring. He noticed that there was a jade pendant hanging around the golden skeleton's neck. Originally, he felt a little disrespectful if he took the limitless feather coat away. However, this feather coat was useless to a dead person. It would be a waste to leave it here. In the end, the golden skeleton's divinity was also taken away by him. In other words, taking away the divinity of the owner of the golden skeleton was already too much. Naturally, he would not search the golden skeleton, but he did not expect the jade pendant on the golden skeleton's neck to be exposed. Heaven-Earth Throne. On the jade pendant, there were 4 small green characters that flashed with a faint spiritual energy. This spiritual energy gave people a comfortable feeling. When Li Lingtian saw the jade pendant, he was extremely shocked. It was actually known as the Heaven-Earth Throne. One could imagine the identity of this golden skeleton when it was alive. It must have been a race or a powerful emperor. Only a race had the ability to be called the throne of heaven and earth. It was impossible for a single person to be called the heaven and earth. Other than these 4 words, he didn't find anything else. After Li Lingtian carefully stored the golden skeleton into the divine dragon ring, he kept the jade pendant as well. At this moment, the stairs disappeared. The entire square was silent. There was no movement at all. Even the divine artifact's pressure had completely disappeared. Everything in front of him seemed to be an illusion. Bang! Bang! Li Lingtian turned around and saw a series of sounds. Powerful martial emperors descended one after another. After calming himself down, Li Lingtian wore a faint smile on his face. He did not expect to encounter a powerhouse with a divine providence in his search for the 10 millennium frigid ice iron. He had obtained the limitless feather coat and this divine providence. This kind of harvest made him extremely excited, and his mood was also extremely good. Sir Lingtian, how is it? Hua Qingfeng's injuries had basically stabilized. When the group landed, they saw Li Lingtian standing in the middle of the square, perfectly fine. He then greeted Li Lingtian, wanting to know what treasure Li Lingtian had obtained here. It's nothing. I've been searching for so long, but I didn't find anything. The pressure here was actually absorbed by one of my treasures. This is quite a harvest. Li Lingtian smiled as he took out the Tianyu sword. Although the Tianyu sword was a holy weapon, it was not something that these martial emperors could tell. This Sky Cloud sword belonged to Sky Cloud's sect. It was no secret that countless experts knew that he had this saint weapon. Congratulations, Sir Lingtian. The power of the Tianyu sword has definitely increased by quite a bit. Zhua Hao said with a smile. He did not believe that Li Lingtian had not discovered any treasure and that they were the only ones who had not seen it. So what if they saw it? With Li Lingtian here, they stood no chance at all. After that, more than 30 martial emperors searched the entire square carefully, but they didn't find anything suspicious. They could only return resentfully. Li Lingtian also left the sea and landed on Qilin Island. He then activated his divine consciousness and started moving around in the divine dragon ring. After a full minute, he took out the 10,000-year frost iron. Looking at this huge piece of 10,000-year frost iron, all the martial emperors revealed greedy looks. However, the 10 millennium frigid ice iron belonged to Li Lingtian, so it was fortunate that they could share some of it. Everyone was surprised to see Li Lingtian take out the 10,000-year frigid ice iron. Li Lingtian was a man of his word. I will keep my word. One will give you a portion of this 10,000-year frost iron. After saying that, the Tianyu sword appeared in his hand. He circulated his true essence and continuously waved the Tianyu sword in his hand. In an instant, pieces of 1,000-year-old frost iron appeared on the ground. There were a total of 36 pieces of 10,000-year frost iron, and all 36 pieces were the size of a fist. After cutting off 36 pieces, there was still a large piece left. This piece of 1,000-year-old frost iron was hundreds of times larger than the one cut off. The 36 pieces of 10,000-year-old frigid ice iron shot toward the 36 martial emperors quickly under the guidance of his soul consciousness. After doing everything, he put the remaining 1,000-year-old frost iron into the divine dragon ring. Thank you, Sir Lingtian. The 36 martial emperors cupped their fists in thanks. Although the 10,000-year frigid ice iron they had obtained was only 1/10,000th of Li Lingtian's, a fist-sized piece was worth tens of millions of spiritual stones. Moreover, it was already a great fortune to be able to obtain this little bit of 10 millennium frigid ice iron from Li Lingtian. Even if Li Lingtian did not give them a share, they could only watch helplessly. Perhaps Li Lingtian would kill him in a bad mood. I'll be leaving first. Li Lingtian nodded. With a flick of his divine consciousness, a massive spaceship appeared before him. The heavenly cloud spaceship was hovering above Qilin Island. Now that his identity had been exposed, there was no need to hide at all. Moreover, he had already done his job well, so there was no need to worry about other experts plotting against him. With a flash, he returned to the heavenly cloud ship. With a loud boom, the ship flew into the sky in a streak of light. In the blink of an eye, the Heavenly Cloud spaceship disappeared. The 36 martial emperors heaved a sigh of relief as they watched Li Lingtian leave. He's finally gone. This monster is really speechless. I can't see through this person. In a few years, no one in Green Continent will be able to stop his rise. That's impossible. That person is still around. No matter how powerful a martial emperor is, he's no match for him. Li Lingtian may be powerful, but he's definitely not someone that person can compare to. Don't forget that martial kings kill martial grandmasters and martial emperors, and martial grandmasters kill martial emperors. If a martial honor becomes a martial emperor, he will definitely be able to defeat a powerhouse who disregards his realm. You're right. One just hoped that the three empires will stop fighting with this monster. This Green Continent is not his stage. What's the point of stopping him? For a moment, all the martial emperors sighed. They did not know that they were all old monsters who had been around for hundreds of years. How could they sigh in front of a 17 or 18-year-old young man? No matter how talented one was, a martial emperor could only be reached at the age of 60 or 70. A genius like young Master Ming Xiao looked like he was only 20 years old, but he was actually in his 50s or 60s. Most of the time, some martial emperors would only break through after they were 100 years old. It was extremely difficult to advance from a martial grandmaster to a martial emperor. Li Lingtian's achievement of becoming a martial grandmaster at 17 was already considered heaven-defying. In the Azure continent, there had never been a genius who had reached the rank of a martial emperor before the age of 60. It was the same for martial arts grandmasters. There were no martial arts grandmasters under the age of 20, but Li Lingtian was an exception. Li Lingtian piloted the spaceship and quickly flew toward the horizon. He had gained a lot this time and his goal had been achieved. It was time to return to Sky Cloud Sect. Chapter 198, Chapter 198, Heavenly Cloud Battleship. Chapter 198, Heavenly Cloud Battleship. In the Northern Nether Empire, the four sects started to suspect each other. Because the experts under their sect had actually fallen in the Green Wind sect. They would never believe that it had nothing to do with the Green Wind sect even if they were beaten to death. However, there were many suspicious points in the middle. They also understood that someone must have framed the Green Wind sect. Even though they knew that Green Wind sect was framed, in the world of the Divine Martial Continent, face was important. The relationship between the four sects was not good to begin with. Last time, when they joined forces to attack Sky Cloud sect, almost all of them were wiped out. Only a few martial emperors returned. All of a sudden, the super sects began to suspect each other, and the relationship between them worsened to the extreme. Not long after that, the news of Sky Dragon Empire's Li Lingtian appearing in Bai Yunhai spread like wildfire. No one would believe it if it was just a rumor. However, this was something that countless martial emperors had seen on Qilin Island. Moreover, it had killed Yao Tianjun, who was at the peak of the 6th-level martial emperor realm. Immediately, the Beiyu Empire started to feel uneasy. Although they didn't have a large army to attack the Sky Dragon sect, they had sent many experts and even sent people to attack Sky Cloud sect. Now, they were in a difficult situation. Li Lingtian alone made it difficult for them to move. The Green Wind sect incident was also linked to Li Lingtian. However, no one saw Li Lingtian make a move. Furthermore, everyone knew about the Green Wind sect's taboo on metal. Only this taboo could kill so many powerhouses at the same time. Li Lingtian had already left the Northern Nether Empire's territory on the Heavenly Cloud spaceship and arrived at the Sky Dragon Empire's territory. Without any delay, he returned to Sky Cloud sect and had a good time with Tang Zimeng and the others. Following that, Li Lingtian gathered all of Sky Cloud sect's refining disciples and began to build warships on Sky Universe Peak. There was no need to build the Heavenly Cloud spaceship anymore. He only needed to strengthen it again to increase its defense and speed. These things were all done by the Sky Cloud sect disciples, and he only needed to modify the array formation. For a moment, the Sky Peak was shrouded by countless restrictions, and only countless artifact refining disciples were busy inside. Even Sky Cloud Sect's martial arts grandmaster could not enter. To build an aircraft carrier, the engineering was absolutely heaven-defying. It was simply not something that could be built now. The only way was to use precious materials to transform the Heavenly Cloud spaceship into a battleship. On this day, Li Lingtian took out 3.8 billion spiritual stones. These spiritual stones were his entire fortune. At first, he thought that it would be fine as long as he installed the array on the spaceship, but when it was actually implemented, it was not like this at all. Sect Master, here are 3.8 billion spirit stones. I need the most precious materials in Sky Dragon Empire. The more the better. 1 foot 11 inches give you as many as you have. Moreover, we have to strengthen the purchase of materials from other places and send them to the Sky Peak as soon as possible. When Li Lingtian handed the 3.8 billion spiritual stones to Ling Tianfeng was instantly numbed. Where did this kid get so many spiritual stones? 3.8 billion. Even Sky Cloud Sect's wealth didn't have that much. 3.8 billion was equivalent to the total output value of the 4 major sects. He did not expect a martial arts grandmaster like Li Lingtian to be able to take it out so easily. Alright, I'll do it now. I'll try to buy all the materials I need in a short period of time. Ling Tianfeng did not know what Li Lingtian was up to. However, since Li Lingtian was able to fork out 3.8 billion spiritual stones to purchase the materials, there must be something big happening. Soon after, all the Sky Cloud Sect warriors joined in the purchase of materials. Even the powerhouses from the Qin, Lan, Tang, and Li families, as well as the Imperial Palace, began to help Li Lingtian collect materials. In the past 2 months, countless materials were sent to Sky Peak in batches. No one knew what was going on in Sky Peak. Li Lingtian did not leave Sky Peak for even a single step. At a hidden spot on Sky Peak, the sky was filled with countless restriction spells that completely blocked the hidden spot. Countless blacksmiths were busy. The Heavenly Cloud ship was floating in the air, and some blacksmiths were constantly using precious materials to strengthen it. As time passed, the Heaven Cloud flying ship kept changing. It was several times bigger than before. It was 500 meters long, 200 meters wide, and had 6 floors. It was a huge battleship. Li Lingtian did not make any moves in the beginning. He was only supervising the disciple in building and reinforcing the Heavenly Cloud spaceship. However, some disciples were responsible for repairing the spaceship and constantly checking the condition of the spaceship. Meanwhile, Li Lingtian began to get busy as he busied himself on the Heavenly Cloud spaceship every day. 10,000-year Heavenly Flame Liquid, 10,000-year Frost Ice Iron, and Heavenly Freezing Meteorite, these rare materials were used. Originally, he needed an extraterrestrial meteorite, but the Freezing Sky Meteor was also a type of extraterrestrial meteorite. Moreover, this Freezing Sky Meteor was even better than the extraterrestrial meteorite. He had used all sorts of methods to cut off a piece of the Freezing Sky Meteor. After combining several precious materials, Li Lingtian and the 6 Warrior King weapon refiners began to build the array formation. Time passed day by day, and 3 months passed. In 3 months, the 3.8 billion spirit stones of materials were basically gone. However, Li Lingtian's face was filled with excitement because the aircraft carrier had been completed. Using spirit stones as a power source is still too weak. Magical Beast Inner Core. I can't. Li Lingtian was excited as he looked at the massive warship. With the array formation completed, everything was about to come to an end. However, when he thought of the power source, he felt a little depressed. If the power source was too small, the power would not be as good as he wanted. The magical crystal was used as a power source to activate the inner cores of the demonic beasts and demonic beasts, combining the 2 powers into one. At the thought of this, Li Lingtian was shocked. If he were to combine these 2 sources of power together with the power of the attack formation, it would be a force that could destroy the world. The mana crystal is the power source, and the inner cores of the 4th rank beasts and magical beasts are the most powerful. Li Lingtian took out a demonic crystal before taking out a tier 4 demonic beast's inner core. The higher the grade of a demonic beast's inner core, the better. The higher the grade of a demonic beast's inner core, the more powerful it would be. A tier 4 demonic beast was equivalent to a martial arts grandmaster. If a martial arts grandmaster self-destructed, the power would even destroy a small city. The self-destruction of a martial arts grandmaster expert could even kill a martial emperor. It was the same for the inner core of a demonic beast. The power of the demonic beast's inner core, coupled with Li Lingtian's intelligence, was unleashed to the maximum. The offensive formation activated the demonic crystal and compressed the power of the inner core to the extreme, increasing the power of the original inner core by several times. Originally, the self-destruction of a level 4 first-level inner core could kill a level 1 martial emperor. However, with the support of the killing formation and the demonic crystal, a level 4 first-level inner core was enough to kill a level 5 martial emperor. That's all. With that thought in mind, Li Lingtian began to modify the array formation. The rest of the disciples were cleaning the warship. Now that the warship was complete, Li Lingtian was left to handle the rest. It was a 6-story battleship. Its entire body was silver gray, and it had a mysterious glow on it. It gave off a destructive visual impact. After Li Lingtian finished casting the last spell, the formation was completed and the warship was completed. Then, he activated his divine sense and began to refine the battleship. Only by refining the battleship would he be able to fully control it. This is the first battleship of the divine martial continent. I shall name you the Heavenly Cloud. From now on, the Heavenly Cloud shall witness the green continent's tremors. Li Lingtian looked at his masterpiece. With the wisdom of his past life and the Heavenly Cloud spaceship's true form, he had maximized the array formation in the divine array diagram. A powerful defense, coupled with a heaven-grade offensive array, and the use of demonic crystals and demonic beast cores, this power could destroy the world. Boom! With a wave of Li Lingtian's hand, all the restrictions in the sky disappeared and the Sky Cloud battleship was revealed to the countless Sky Cloud sect disciples. The warship was as large and majestic as a mountain peak. Li Lingtian cast a spell with one hand and a medium spiritual stone was placed into the array altar, activating the warship. Boom! 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 A powerful explosion sounded out as the battleship soared into the sky. The world trembled as the huge battleship stood proudly in the sky. It was like a silver cloud floating in the sky. The tens of thousands of disciples and experts below were extremely excited and looked at the warship in the sky in shock. Try your power. Li Lingtian's face revealed an expectant smile. With a flip of his hand, a pitch-black demonic crystal appeared in his hand, along with a tier 4 level 1 demonic beast inner core. The demonic crystal entered the slot in the array altar, and the demonic beast inner core also slipped in. Then, he pressed a hand on the array altar and released a strand of true essence. Immediately, a shocking pressure erupted from the starship. At the front of the battleship, a hole about a foot in size appeared on the silver wall. A 1-meter-long circular pillar appeared. The moment the pillar appeared, a deathly energy exploded from it. Rumble! With a shocking explosion, a light shadow appeared from the pillar and instantly bombarded the distant mountain range in the sky. With an explosion, a 500-meter-tall mountain was directly broken in half. Endless destructive chi exploded between heaven and earth. One haven't seen the power of the guided missile, but I believe that its power is no different from that of a guided missile. This is only the inner core of a 4th-order first-class demonic beast. If it was a 5th-order inner core, hee. The expression on Li Lingtian's face changed countless times before he was pleasantly surprised. This power was much stronger than he had imagined. The Sky Cloud sect martialists below were all stunned. Even the self-destruction of martial arts grandmasters and the battle of martial emperors were not so powerful. This was destruction. After a brief silence, a wave of cheers erupted. Tens of thousands of disciples cheered, and the Sky Cloud sect experts were also shocked and excited. 8 billion. One didn't expect the thing I created to be so powerful. Ling Tianfeng was shocked. Although he had spent 8 billion, this power was definitely worth it. What he didn't know was that it was more than 8 billion. It was worth at least 5 billion low-grade spirit stones. Not to mention the heavenly cloud flying ship, there were also those precious materials. Adding on the 8 billion materials, 5 billion was definitely enough. Chapter 199, Chapter 199, Controlling the Warship, 1. Chapter 199, Controlling the Warship, 1. The heavenly cloud battleship slowly descended. Li Ling Tian disembarked with a faint smile on his face. Big brother Ling Tian, what's this? It's so powerful. Tang Zi dreamed that Li Ling Tian had come down. He had been busy with this thing for a while and now she finally had the chance to ask him about it. Qingping, Xiao Xiao and the rest were also looking at Li Ling Tian curiously. It was terrifying to imagine the power that could destroy a small mountain in one blow. This is called the Heavenly Cloud Battleship. It uses formations, inner cores, and power sources to maximize its power. Li Ling Tian replied with a smile. In this world, there was no such thing as warships. Only in his previous life did there exist warships and aircraft carriers. However, he was not completely satisfied with the modified version of the Heavenly Cloud spaceship. He wanted to build an aircraft carrier. An aircraft carrier was much more powerful than this. The main reason was that there were not enough spirit stones and countless precious materials. There were a total of 6 most precious main materials, and he only had 2 with him. The other one was replaced by the freezing meteorite. If he gathered all 6 materials, he would definitely be able to build a real aircraft carrier. Otherwise, he wouldn't have named this warship the Heavenly Cloud. In his heart, he wanted to build an aircraft carrier for the war god. The war god's aircraft carrier could at least kill a supreme martial emperor. Rather than having its power unable to reach his goal, he might as well not waste the title. The war god definitely had to be worthy of his powerful power. Heavenly Cloud Battleship, is this the one you drew last time? Tang Zimeng asked in confusion. She naturally didn't know what a battleship was. In this world, there was only force, not warships. It seemed that this so-called warship was similar to the one Li Ling Tian drew last time. Not bad. You guys can go up and take a look. Just don't touch the control panel. Li Ling Tian pointed at the Heavenly Cloud battleship with a faint smile on his face. The other parts of the ship were identical to the cruise ship in his previous life except that this cruise ship was flying in the sky. The control panel was also the array altar, an important place to control the Heavenly Cloud battleship. However, only he could control this battleship because the array was created by himself. No one else could control this battleship. That's great. Tang Zimeng and the 3 little girls flew up happily and came to the battleship. The 6-story battleship had a huge space. It was 500 meters long and 200 meters wide. One could imagine how huge this warship was. The top floor was a cultivation place with a wide platform. Behind it were 300 rooms on each floor, making it a total of 6 floors. However, the lower 5 floors were filled with countless rooms. At the top was a garden. It was completely a paradise. This place was also his private place. No one else could enter. It was also the fastest place for him to enter the control panel. Moreover, he could control the warship from here. The 4 girls were laughing excitedly on the Heavenly Cloud battleship. Every part of the warship had been carefully built. Moreover, every room on the Heavenly Cloud battleship was an independent space, and there was a spirit gathering array. The largest spirit gathering formation on the Heavenly Cloud battleship absorbed the heaven and earth spirit chi. It was a paradise inside. It would not be a problem for him to stay on the battleship for 8 to 10 years, because he could store items for several years on it, and he could live on it for a lifetime. Finally, Li Lingtian brought Tang Zimeng and the others to the top floor. However, this warship is used for war. Li Lingtian smiled. There were more than 1,500 rooms on the warship and each room was around 30 to 40 square meters. The rooms were also divided into 3 smaller rooms. In this way, the experts on the warship could cultivate and rest quietly, and they could play their greatest role in battle. The killing formation was only the main target. The safety of the starship had to be maintained by these experts. Even if they had an invincible defense, they had to be prepared. Moreover, the experts on the warship had to deal with short-range attacks. This was what the experts on the warship had to do. Sure. But there's no war going on in Green Island now. What's the use of using this battleship? Tang Zimeng was extremely excited as she held Li Lingtian's arm with her little hand. However, she remembered that the battle in Green Island had ceased after the Heavenly Dragon, so it was naturally difficult for a battle to happen. The real war hasn't started yet. The war isn't the kind that appears on the surface. It's a contest in the dark. This is the Cold War, and the Cold War is the most terrifying. Li Lingtian said seriously. Sky Dragon City was almost destroyed. Although his appearance saved Sky Dragon Empire, the other 3 empires and 4 mysterious families did not stop there. And the mastermind behind the scenes would not let go of Sky Dragon City so easily. There would be a war when the time came. Otherwise, he would not have spent all his wealth to build this warship. In his previous life, after the war, there was the Cold War. The Cold War had always been in a stalemate. No country would easily go to war, but there was always a secret war. In his previous life, he could not contribute to his country, but in this life, he would definitely not watch his empire be threatened. The threat from the last time had already appeared, and they were already wary of all the experts in Sky Dragon Empire. All the forces began to gather their genius disciples and began to speed up their cultivation because they could smell the fighting spirit. Subsequently, Li Lingtian levitated the Heavenly Cloud battleship above Tianyu Peak while he led Tang Zimeng and the others out of the warship to cultivate at Tianyu Peak. Li Lingtian was troubled by the fact that the warship could not be stored in the Divine Dragon Ring and could only hover in the air. Under such circumstances, Li Lingtian could only sigh. It was impossible for him to hide and take them away. Sky Cloud's sect was extremely excited when they saw the power of the battleship. In less than 2 days, the Sky Dragon Empire's Imperial Palace also learned about the Heavenly Cloud battleship. The Imperial Palace was filled with jubilation. With this battleship, their chances of winning in the future war would increase by countless times. As time passed, the other 3 empires learned that Li Lingtian had created a mysterious warship. It was a destructive warship that could destroy heaven and earth. They were all extremely worried. Everyone knew about the power of the warship, but Li Lingtian understood. The inner core of a level 4 monster beast could be used as a power source to kill a level 1 martial emperor or a level 5 monster beast, but it could not kill a martial honor. That was because the self-destruction of an inner core below tier 6 was simply unable to kill a martial honor. Unless it was the inner core of a 6th order monster beast. The inner core of a 6th order monster beast, coupled with the power of the attack formation and the demonic crystal, could naturally kill a IV martial honor. Basically, a level 4 inner core could kill an expert below level 5 of a martial emperor, and only a level 5 inner core could kill an expert below a martial honor. This was also the strength of a revered martial artist. Because a revered martial artist had a clone and a mysterious skill, it was naturally impossible for a warship to kill him easily. The battleship he was building now lacked too many materials. It could not pose any threat to a martial honor at all. However, there were no revered martial artists in Green Island, so he naturally did not have to worry. A month had passed. Li Lingtian continued to cultivate and he had reached the peak of Tier 1 Martial Arts Grandmaster. Chapter 200, Demanding Compensation. Chapter 200, Demanding Compensation. Make an announcement. Sky Dragon Empire has suffered the flames of war from the three empires, and the people are in dire straits. The three empires will be held responsible for all of this. Each empire will be compensated with 10 billion low-grade spirit stones. They will be responsible for the consequences. I will only wait for half a month. Li Lingtian said coldly before he led Tang Zimeng and the rest to the warship. Since he was going to leave, he had to collect some interest. However, the few martial arts grandmasters and Ling Haoming were stunned when they heard Li Lingtian's words. 10 billion spiritual stones per empire was a robbery. They were actually shouting that the people were suffering from the flames of war. It had been so long, and they had never said such things before. Now that the battleships were built, they actually wanted 10 billion spirit stones from each of the three empires. They could not even imagine it. Are we really going to do this? This was also the first time Ling Haoming was so shocked. This young man was too terrifying. He could think of anything and dared to think of anything. However, he regretted saying that because he was an idiot. Li Lingtian nodded and went into the warship's room to rest. Tang Zimeng and the rest followed Li Lingtian to the 6th floor and began cultivating there. Li Lingtian waved his hand and a spirit-gathering array appeared. The dense spirit qi between heaven and earth slowly flowed in. After he entered the starship, Ling Haoming also gave the order to spread the news. However, this time, the news was directly spread to the three empires. Li Lingtian did not feel anything while he was cultivating in the warship. However, it was already a huge commotion outside Green Island. The four great sects of the Beiyu Empire were at odds with each other. Although the Sky Dragon Empire was weak, they were still eyeing him like a tiger watching its prey. Even Li Lingtian was a threat to them. More importantly, the Northern Nether Empire attacked Sky Cloud Sect and the three empires joined forces to attack Sky Dragon Sect, almost taking them down. Although Li Lingtian did not say anything, everyone knew that he would not let this matter rest. As expected, Sky Cloud Sect had sent out news that young Master Ling Tian had said that the three empires would each compensate 10 billion spiritual stones within half a month and would bear the consequences themselves. The news shocked the world. Li Lingtian alone was threatening the entire Green Province. A young man who was a martial arts grandmaster had actually disregarded all the powerhouses in the Green Continent and openly threatened the three empires. Damn it, what does he think Tianjin Empire is? Is Tianjin Empire that afraid of Li Lingtian? Tian Hanyu roared angrily. He was extremely furious. The emperor of Tianjin Empire was actually threatened by a young martial arts grandmaster. Wasn't this embarrassing? Your Majesty, if we don't fork out 10 billion, our empire will suffer a great loss when Li Lingtian comes to Tianjin Empire. That infernal king beast is too powerful for us to resist. That's right. One wonder if your Majesty has any good ideas. Otherwise, our Tianjin Empire will become a laughing stock. I didn't expect a Wu Zong to be so arrogant. Who gave him the guts? A martial arts grandmaster dares to threaten the three great empires? How ignorant. In an instant, countless supreme powerhouses from Tianjin Empire gathered in the palace. Li Lingtian's strength was terrifying and they were all fearful of him. Impossible. One want to see what he can do with the Tianjin Empire. Although his strength is terrifying, I don't believe that all the martial emperors working together can't kill him. Tian Hanyu said angrily. Even the imperial palace of Tianjin Empire couldn't afford 10 billion spiritual stones. Unless all the sects and families in Tianjin Empire gathered together, no empire could afford to fork out so many spiritual stones. 10 billion low-grade spirit stones from each empire. Why don't we go rob them? In the Southern Mountain Empire's imperial palace, a middle-aged man's face was filled with rage. Every empire had to compensate 10 billion. Did they think that 10 billion was dirt? A mere martial arts grandmaster youth actually threatened the three empires in front of everyone. Damn it, this is clearly a robbery. In the imperial palace of the Northern Nether Empire, the emperor of the Northern Nether Empire said coldly. Such a thing had never happened before, even in the Green Continent. Some powerful families were also furious when they heard this news. Hundreds of millions of warriors across Green Island were shocked. Li Lingtian's reputation had once again reached its peak. Everyone knew of his existence. Even Scholar Heaven's End from 300 years ago did not have such a great reputation. Yet, Li Lingtian was now asking the three great empires to fork out 10 billion lower spiritual stones. 10 billion spirit stones? What kind of existence was this? Even a super sect could not take out so many spirit stones. 3 empires meant 30 billion. 30 billion was equivalent to the wealth of an empire's sect. Wasn't this like a lion opening its mouth? Some were anxious, some were watching the show, and some were gloating. Days passed, and half a month passed. However, there was no movement from the 3 empires. Looks like you really won't shed tears until you see the coffin. Li Lingtian opened his eyes in the warship. After cultivating for half a month, his cultivation base had improved a little. However, after reaching the martial arts grandmaster level, it was not so easy to cultivate. Even a 4th-grade medicinal pill would not be able to increase his cultivation by much. Only a 5th-grade medicinal pill would be useful, but he was not confident in refining a 5th-grade medicinal pill at the moment. In his eyes, his cultivation speed was very slow, but his cultivation speed was many times faster than other geniuses. Half a month passed, but there was still no news. In fact, he had already known about this outcome. However, this half a month was for the world to see. Since the other party did not compromise, he would beat them into compromising. Let's go out and play. Li Lingtian stood up and saw Tang Zimeng and the others playing on the warship. The 6th floor of the warship was a private place where only the few of them were present. Big brother Lingtian, where are we going to play? Tang Zimeng asked curiously when she saw Li Lingtian walking out. Let's go to the Lonling Tower of the Northern Nether Empire first. Since they dared to attack our Sky Cloud sect, they must pay a certain price. There was a faint smile on Li Lingtian's face, but his entire body exuded a powerful aura that looked down on the world. After the true dragon body protection reached the 2nd level, the dragon energy cultivated became even purer, and his strength increased by a terrifying amount. Furthermore, the Ice, Fire, 9 heavens had reached the 2nd heaven. This trump card was even more domineering. He wasn't sure about his current cultivation, but he knew that he could deal with any expert below the 5th level of the Martial Emperor realm. However, those above the 5th level were not so confident. After all, experts above the 5th level of the Martial Emperor realm were extremely powerful existences. If it wasn't for the Devil King Beast, he definitely wouldn't have fought with a 6th level Martial Emperor. Young Master Ming Xiao was an exception. After all, this young Master Ming Xiao was too powerful. If he did not make a move, Sky Dragon Empire would be finished. Are we going to take this battleship? Tang Zimeng looked at Li Lingtian and asked in a sweet voice. She was extremely fond of this warship. There were no battleships in the Divine Martial Continent. This battleship was definitely unique. Naturally, they would not let go of such a fun battleship. Of course. Let them experience what it means to fight. They think they're great just because they have a martial emperor. I'll let these super martial emperors know that Sky Dragon Empire is not to be trifled with. Head to the Northern Nether Empire's Lonling Tower and prepare the Tier 5 Monster Beast Inner Core and Demonic Crystal. Li Lingtian turned to look at the 5 martial arts grandmasters before they returned to their seats and activated the Heavenly Cloud battleship. The Sky Cloud battleship roared, and the ground of Sky Cloud sect trembled. Tens of thousands of Sky Cloud sect disciples looked at the Sky Cloud battleship curiously. The Sky Cloud battleship floated 10,000 meters in the air and then quickly flew into the sky. Wherever it passed, the world trembled, leaving behind a violent wind that wreaked havoc in space. Countless defenses were activated on the warship. There was no sound of wind on the warship anymore. It was as stable as flat ground. The huge battleship was extremely fast. Countless experts in the sky were shocked when they saw this behemoth and avoided it far away. Sky Cloud Sect's giant flying ship is flying towards the Bayou Empire at an extremely fast speed. This flying ship is as big as a mountain range. Wherever it flies, the space around it will be destroyed. In an instant, the news of the Sky Cloud battleship leaving Sky Cloud Sect spread throughout Sky Dragon Empire, and countless warriors were talking about it. The Northern U Empire's powerhouses were also informed of the news. Their expressions changed. Li Lingtian was already difficult enough to deal with. With such a large warship, it seemed like the Northern U Empire had become Li Lingtian's target. They all understood that although the Northern Nether Empire didn't have a large army to participate in the war, the fact that the four sects had joined forces to attack Sky Cloud Sect wasn't hidden for long. Sky Cloud Sect was Li Lingtian's sect. His own sect was almost destroyed. Now that he was stronger, he would naturally target the sects in the Bayou Empire. This time, it's the moment of life and death for our Lonling Tower. The last time we went to attack Sky Cloud Sect, the Heavens Roars sect was already exterminated, yet they still want to find trouble with our Lonling Tower. Truly detestable. Although he didn't say that he wanted to attack our Lonling Tower is the closest to Sky Cloud Sect. If he flies towards us, it goes without saying that he wants to attack our Lonling Tower. Mu Chen's expression turned grave. The previously high and mighty martial royal realm expert was now facing a young martial arts grandmaster. He also felt grave. He had already lived for 300 years, and his cultivation had reached the 7th level of the martial emperor realm. In the Northern Nether Empire, he was definitely one of the top 3 experts. The Northern Yin cult master did not dare to be presumptuous in front of him. However, more than 10 martial emperors from the Lonling Tower had gathered together to deal with the martial arts sect disciples who he had previously looked down on. Grand Supreme Elder Li Lingtian is only a Tier 1 martial arts grandmaster. Although he defeated some martial emperors with his treasures, his true strength is nothing to worry about. The main reason is that his Demon King beast is terrifyingly powerful. We have to guard against it. Otherwise, we'll... A white-haired old martial emperor stood out and spoke. As he spoke, his voice became softer and softer. The solemn expression on Mu Chen's face gradually faded and finally turned into a smile. Chapter 201, Destroying the Ninth Elder. Chapter 201, Destroying the Ninth Elder. Li Lingtian stood on the heavenly cloud battleship as his blood boiled. This feeling reminded him of the gentle breeze from the warship in his previous life. In his previous life, he could not come into contact with warships, but in this life, he could build his own warship. This warship did not use nuclear weapons, but it was more powerful than nuclear weapons. The current speed of the Heavenly Cloud battleship was many times faster than the previous Heavenly Cloud spaceship. In the past, the Heavenly Cloud spaceship could only cover a distance of 20,000 miles a day at full speed. It was no different from an ordinary passenger plane. However, with his current speed, he could fly at least 50,000 miles in a day. Such a terrifying speed was shocking. However, after entering the territory of the Northern Nether Empire, the Heavenly Cloud battleship's speed wasn't very fast. Instead, it was flying slowly. Looking at the white clouds in the sky, a faint smile appeared on his face. The sky had never been so refreshing. It was the first time in the past few years that he had enjoyed the scenery so quietly. Tang Zimeng and the 3 maids were laughing and chatting at the side. They did not look like they were going to fight at all. Instead, they looked like they were going to play. Although Ling Haoming and the 5 Wuzongs didn't look worried on the surface, they were actually very afraid. This time, they were going to find trouble with the 3 great empires. The strength of the 3 great empires was terrifying, and they were not someone they could deal with at all. The Lonling Tower's territory should be up ahead. Li Lingtian pointed at a large city on the horizon as he spoke indifferently. Pavilion Master is right. The Divine Wood City of the Northern Nether Empire is right in front of us. It's also the Lonling Tower's territory. After passing through this Divine Wood City, we'll enter the Lonling Tower's realm. Almost everyone in the entire Divine Wood City is Lonling Tower's disciple. Although Lonling Tower is different from other sects, its influence is still in the top 10 of the 3 empires. Mu Chen, the Grand Elder of Lonling Tower, is already more than 300 years old. He's a 7th-level martial emperor. Yuan Sealan stepped forward and bowed. He began to tell them everything about Lonling Tower. He understood Lonling Tower very well. This was also Li Lingtian's request. He must have a thorough understanding of his opponent's strength or he would be the one at a disadvantage. Upon hearing Yuan Sealan's words, Li Lingtian began to calculate in his heart. A 7th-tier martial emperor was definitely not that simple. If he wanted to make a move, he would have to show the 3 empires his might and kill them in one strike to warn the others. Speed up. Li Lingtian said coldly with a cruel smile on his face. Then, the heavenly cloud battleship flew quickly. In the blink of an eye, the huge warship appeared in the sky above the Divine Wood City. Countless martial artists in the Divine Wood City looked at the huge warship in the sky and were extremely shocked. They had never seen such a strange and powerful spaceship. What a powerful ship! This flying ship is so strange. It's emitting a shocking aura. It's definitely not something that ordinary flying ships can compare to. Which faction does this spaceship belong to? It actually came to the Divine Wood City. Looking at the heavenly cloud battleship that flew past in the sky, hundreds of thousands of martial artists from the Divine Wood City were shocked beyond words. They were discussing among themselves for a while. Oh no, this is Li Lingtian's spaceship. Hurry up and inform the sect. No, it's too late. The supreme powerhouse from Lonling Tower, who was hidden in Divine Wood City, was shocked when he saw Li Lingtian's warship and his figure. The other martial artists were equally shocked. However, they saw that the speed of the battleship had already flown past the Divine Wood City. At this speed, even if they flew at full speed, they would not be able to catch up, let alone inform the sect. Li Lingtian looked down at the Divine Wood City without any expression on his face. However, at this moment, his expression turned cruel. He waved his hand and made an obliterating gesture towards Yuan Sealan. This was because a super expert was flying over from the sky above the Divine Wood Great City. He was heading in the direction of the heavenly cloud battleship. It seemed that he wanted to show the starship his might. Hundreds of thousands of warriors looked at the figure of this super expert with excitement. Wow, that's our 9th elder. It's really Elder Zhou. Elder Zhou came out of seclusion a while ago and has reached the strength of a rank 5 martial emperor. Our Lonling Tower has another 5th-level martial emperor. Countless martial artists cheered. In Green Continent, there were countless martial emperors, but the ones who could be called strong were martial artists above the 5th level of martial emperor. Those below the 5th level of the martial emperor realm were not considered experts. There was a barrier between the 4th and 5th level of the martial emperor realm, which was harder to cross than other realms. A 5th-level martial emperor could definitely kill 3 peak 4th-level martial emperors at the same time. Boom! At this moment, the spaceship in the sky emitted a destructive light shadow. The light shadow flashed and disappeared from the martial artist's sight. At the same time, the 9th elder, who was in the air, saw the light figure appear and his entire body trembled. The threat of death, and this light figure had locked onto him with divine sense, made it impossible for him to escape. He was stunned. In his shock, the light figure from 100 miles away arrived in front of him. The destructive power made people feel despair even from afar. Rumble. Another shocking explosion sounded. The light shadow that disappeared from the sight of all the martial artists had already hit the 9th elder. A blood-red light flashed, and the blood-red light disappeared under the impact of the destructive halo. The 9th elder had already disappeared in the air. This sudden attack stunned all the martial artists. A 5th-level martial emperor was killed in an instant. He didn't even see a single fragment after he died. This was a 5th-level martial emperor. 9th elder. A voice sounded in the Divine Wood City. There was a hint of sorrow in the voice as they watched the ninth elder be killed in an instant. Eider 9 had been in closed-door cultivation and had only come out recently. Naturally, he was unaware of Li Lingtian's strength since he had encountered such a situation right after he came out. That was why he did not listen to his advice and tried to stop Li Lingtian. However, he did not expect to be destroyed by a light shadow before he could react. For a moment, the entire Divine Wood City fell silent. Why did the huge spaceship in the sky have such a destructive attack? Li Lingtian looked satisfied as he watched the Tier 5 Martial Emperor powerhouse being destroyed. Although he had used a Level 5 monster core, he had killed a Level 5 Martial Emperor. He didn't think much of it, but Yuan Seelin and the others were stunned. Even though he had been in control of the Heavenly Cloud battleship recently, he did not expect it to be so powerful. A 5th level Martial Emperor only needed one spell to dissipate. The cannons on this battleship could be split into front and back, instantly changing the position and direction of the cannons. More importantly, this battleship's attack had the power to lock onto the target. As long as the formation locked onto the target, this power would attack the locked target. The Heavenly Cloud battleship flew at a high speed. Even when it was attacking, the Heavenly Cloud battleship was also flying at a high speed. By the time all the warriors reacted, the Heavenly Cloud battleship had already disappeared above the Divine Wood Great City. After 15 minutes, the Heavenly Cloud battleship had arrived before a huge mountain range. On the mountain range, there were countless pavilions and palaces. Countless powerhouses were already waiting on the mountain range. 16 super powerhouses hovered in the sky and watched Li Lingtian's warship from afar. Li Lingtian, I've been waiting for you for a long time. A faint voice sounded. As soon as the voice fell, a super expert appeared in the air. He was a 7th level Martial Emperor. Li Lingtian looked at the 7th tier Martial Emperor powerhouse in the air and thought to himself, this guy must be the Grand Elder of Lanling Tower, Mu Chen. Oh, it seems that you've prepared for this. If you have any skills, then show them to me. If you want to blame someone, then blame Lanling Tower for being blind and provoking Sky Cloud sect. Li Lingtian stood on the warship and scanned the place with his divine perception, taking in all the powerhouses before him. 16 Martial Emperors, including Mu Chen, made a total of 17 Martial Emperors. With such a lineup, even if all the super powerhouses of Sky Dragon Empire were to join forces, they would not be a match for Lanling Tower. Looking at the other party's formation, they had long known that he was coming. It was just that he did not know what ability Lanling Tower had to stop him. Li Lingtian, this world belongs to the strong. Sky Cloud sect is the weak. Do you think this world is reasonable? Sky Cloud sect is lucky to have you. If you can join my Lanling Tower, I will hire you as an honorary elder. You will be able to control hundreds of thousands of Lanling Tower disciples. How about that? The conditions to join my Lanling Tower are definitely 10,000 times better than Sky Cloud sect. Mu Chen looked at Li Lingtian in shock. The spaceship exuded a destructive aura and was definitely not an ordinary spaceship. Could it be that this was what Sky Cloud sect had been forging some time ago? Although the movements of the Sky Peak were secretive, there were still countless spies who had done so. They were even more shocked by the young man in front of them. The expert who had shocked the Azure continent was indeed a young man. Mu Chen, you're indeed an old fox. You still haven't forgotten to sow discord at a time like this. Li Lingtian secretly thought to himself. He maintained the smile on his face, but he was a little confused. These people had been waiting here for a long time. They must have some powerful backup plan or else they would not have appeared so easily. Mu Chen, your conditions are not bad, but this young master is someone that your mere Lanling Tower can accommodate. If you provoke Sky Cloud sect, you have to be prepared to pay the price. Li Lingtian shouted. Tang Zimeng and the rest were excited as they looked at the dozen or so martial royal realm powerhouses in the distance. As a martial king, he could actually face so many martial emperors with ease. She was full of confidence when she thought of the attack from the Heavenly Cloud battleship, which had caused a 5th-level Martial Emperor to vanish into thin air. If he could bring this Heavenly Cloud battleship to the Azure continent, he would definitely be able to rescue his sister. After rescuing his sister, he would be able to completely put down his worries. You have to join the group to get a red packet. Chapter 202, Chapter 202, Destruction. Chapter 202, Destruction. Since that's the case, since you're here today, you can stay here forever. An evil smile appeared on Mu Chen's face. Since he could not win him over, he had to destroy him. As soon as he finished speaking, the 16 martial emperors moved. However, Li Lingtian was puzzled as they retreated instead of advancing. In an instant, he had retreated several hundred meters. By the time he flashed again, he was already far away from Li Lingtian. At that moment, a destructive pressure descended from the sky. Li Lingtian was extremely familiar with this pressure as it carried the aura of a god. In an instant, a huge light shield descended from the sky and blocked Li Lingtian's path of retreat. Heaven and Earth Destruction Formation, so that's how it is. Li Lingtian looked at the descending light shield and immediately understood why it was so calm to use this array formation to kill him. Yuan Seelan and the others on the Heavenly Cloud battleship were stunned when they saw the light shield. However, what happened next stunned everyone. The light shield in the sky was blocked by the countless defensive formations on the battleship as soon as it landed. It didn't have any intention of falling. Mu Chen and the 16 martial emperors were stunned by this situation. The Heaven and Earth Destruction Array had actually stopped on this flying ship. Even a fool would understand that there was a magical formation on this flying ship. The Heaven and Earth Destruction Formation was also blocked by the defense on the flying ship. For a moment, everyone could only be shocked. Using a formation in front of me, how ignorant. Li Lingtian was smiling. He had used the wrong array formation to deal with the Heavenly Cloud battleship. The defense of the Heavenly Cloud battleship was not only sturdy, but it also had a mysterious and powerful defensive formation. Yuan Seelan and the others were relieved. They knew that the defensive power of the warship was strong, but it was their first time using it. They were still a little worried. Now, it seemed that they were worried for nothing. What kind of ship is this? It actually has such defense. Mu Chen looked at the array on the battleship and said in surprise. No matter how much he had calculated, he had never expected that this flying ship would have such a defense. It actually ignored the Heaven and Earth Destruction Formation. The Heaven and Earth Destruction Formation was activated by 12 martial emperors. The appearance of 16 martial emperors was to conceal the number of people in this formation. Li Lingtian was unaware of the array's attack. The Heaven and Earth Destruction Array was successfully activated, but it was blocked by the spaceship. When the Heaven and Earth Destruction Array was activated, even a martial honor would be killed. The price of this array was that the 12 martial emperors would not be able to use their true essence for a year, and their cultivation would drop by a level. One could imagine how fearful they were of Li Lingtian by paying such a price to deal with him. However, even so, not only did they fail to kill Li Lingtian, they were not even able to unleash any of their power. The 12 martial emperors spat out a mouthful of blood. They were so angry that they couldn't achieve their goal even after paying such a price. One don't mind telling you. This isn't a spaceship. It's called a battleship, the Heaven Cloud battleship. Li Lingtian said calmly. With a wave of his hand, Ling Haoming cast a magic art. As the magic art was activated, a strange aura burst out from the warship. The appearance of this aura immediately destroyed the Heaven and Earth Destruction Array. Battleship? Heavenly Cloud battleship? The 16 martial emperors and Mu Chen were dumbfounded. This was the first time they had heard of this battleship on the Divine Martial Continent. The domineering name, coupled with the defense just now, instantly shocked the hearts of more than 10 super experts. Now that you know, it's time for you to die. Li Lingtian said coldly. As soon as he finished speaking, the Heavenly Cloud battleship trembled slightly. Immediately, a cannon appeared at the front of the Heavenly Cloud battleship. a pillar appeared and a destructive light shadow shot toward Mu Chen and the others. In the sky, a destructive aura wreaked havoc. In the Lanlinglao mountain range, all the warriors felt the threat of death. Even if they were hiding in the mountain range, they also felt the threat of death. The threat only lasted for an instant. Immediately after, a shocking explosion sounded as the light shadow exploded. Mu Chen was the first to bear the brunt of the attack. However, in the face of this light shadow, Mu Chen did not even have the chance to use his treasures. He used the powerful physique and defense of a martial emperor. Without any resistance, his body was torn apart, and his consciousness instantly disappeared. At the moment when his consciousness disappeared, he saw a ball of destructive power light explode in the air. After that, he did not know what happened. The Longling Tower's mountain range was attacked by the battleships. Countless warriors died instantly, and the entire mountain range turned into ruins. The 16 martial emperors were also hit by the destructive force. They spat out a mouthful of blood and quickly flew away. In front of this battleship, he was simply courting death. Boom! Boom! After 6 consecutive explosions, 5 martial emperors died and disappeared. The last explosion rang out in Lanlinglao mountain range. The mountain range exploded, and countless martial artists were sent flying. In just 10 breaths, 7 destructive forces were activated, and the entire Longling Tower turned into ruins in the blink of an eye. Tang Zimeng, the 3 maids, and Ling Haoming were all shocked and did not say a word for a long time. Shoo! Ling Haoming let out a sigh. The Longling Tower, known as one of the 4 super sects of the Beiyu Empire, had actually disappeared in the blink of an eye in front of this battleship. Although a few martial emperors had escaped, they had already achieved their goal by killing Mu Chen and turning Longling Restaurant into nothingness. At that moment, the Heavenly Cloud battleship slowly descended. Li Lingtian held it in one hand and activated the Divine Dragon Ring. Little White appeared on the warship and vanished after receiving Li Lingtian's instructions. Since they had killed someone, they had to seize the treasure. As one of the 4 great sects in the Beiyu Empire, the Longling Tower naturally had a lot of wealth. Little White was especially agile when it came to treasures and things with spiritual energy, so it was naturally the one who had to collect them. Li Lingtian brought Tang Zimeng to the warship to look at the Longling Restaurant. The entire Longling Restaurant had disappeared and become history. Half an hour later, the Heavenly Cloud battleship rose and quickly flew in another direction. The direction it was flying in happened to be where the Northern Yin cult was. However, after destroying the Longling Tower, the warship did not fly quickly. Instead, it flew slowly, as if it was admiring the scenery. However, the incident at the Longling Tower shocked the Beiyu Empire. In the end, the Tianjin Empire and the Nanling Empire were also shocked. The few martial emperors who had escaped had already told them about Li Lingtian's warship. It had destroyed Longling Tower in just 10 breaths. There was nothing in Green Island that could stop Li Lingtian. It was no wonder that Li Lingtian dared to demand 10 billion spiritual stones as compensation. All of a sudden, the Green Continent was shaken. Countless super sects and families were in a state of panic. In front of the Heavenly Cloud battleship, no matter how many warriors there were, they would be destroyed in the blink of an eye. This was a killing machine. The various sects and empires began to fall into chaos. If they did not pay spirit stones, they would face destruction. This was true destruction. Even the sect would be uprooted. On the 10th day, the Northern Yin cult was destroyed. They were also destroyed in front of the Heavenly Cloud battleship. In just a few breaths, the Northern Yin cult was completely destroyed. In this way, all the sects and empires could not sit still. His heart began to waver as he wondered if he should give Li Lingtian spiritual stones. After all, the 3 empires had joined forces to attack the Heavenly Dragon. Now, retribution was upon them. On the 3rd day after the Northern Yin cult was destroyed, the Heaven Roar sect was destroyed. On the 8th day, the Green Wind sect was destroyed. In less than a month, the 4 great sects of the Beiyu Empire were destroyed. Li Lingtian did not touch any of the sects that the warship passed by. The sects that were destroyed were all there to attack Sky Cloud's sect. Even the martial emperors who had submitted to him last time were all killed. After destroying other people's sects, it was naturally impossible for them to serve him wholeheartedly. In that case, they could only kill him. The destruction of the 4 great sects of the Northern Nether Empire had shaken the Green Continent. The 3 great empires had also agreed to gather 10 billion spirit stones within 10 days. During this period of time, Li Lingtian had collected nearly 10 billion spiritual stones, countless weapons, and materials from the 4 major sections. 10 days later, the Northern Nether Empire, the Tianjin Empire, and the South Mountain Empire would hand over 10 billion low-grade spirit stones. The 30 billion plus the wealth of the 4 sects was a total of 40 billion. 40 billion had already earned back the spiritual stones needed to build the battleship. All the powerhouses from Sky Dragon Empire could only shake their heads speechlessly. Although Li Lingtian claimed that Sky Dragon Empire would compensate them, the spiritual stones were all in his pocket. However, no one said anything because this was Li Lingtian's ability. In Heavenly Dragon and Green Island, there was no one else who had such ability except Li Lingtian. If it were not for Li Lingtian, Sky Dragon Empire would have been finished long ago. With Li Lingtian's actions, there were no longer any forces in Green Continent that dared to provoke Sky Dragon Empire. Sky Dragon Empire's strength was becoming more and more consolidated. On this day, Li Lingtian and the rest left Tianjin Empire on their warship and headed home. Pavilion Master, if we build another battleship, no one in Green Island will dare to touch it. Yuan Seelin was incomparably excited. During this period of time, he had watched the super sect disappear in the blink of an eye. His heart was filled with shock, but now, he was already numb to it. Wherever the warship passed, everyone submitted to it. Without hesitation, he took out 10 billion spiritual stones. Li Lingtian's net worth had now reached 40 billion. This warship has already consumed countless spirit stones and materials. It's impossible to build a second warship with the materials of Green Island. With this warship, no one in Green Island will dare to do anything reckless. Right, you've already taken control of this battleship. Here are 10,000 magic crystals, 100 inner cores, and 100 inner cores of magic beasts. Don't waste them unless you have no other choice. Li Lingtian gave Ling Haoming 10,000 demonic crystals, 100 inner cores and 100 demonic beast inner cores as he spoke in a serious tone. Ling Haoming nodded. Even though he was a martial royal realm powerhouse and the founder of Sky Cloud sect, he had no advantage in front of Li Lingtian. In this world, the strong reigned supreme. The strong respected the strong. This young man was a disciple of Sky Cloud sect and the glory of Sky Cloud sect. Without the slightest hesitation, he kept the items that Li Lingtian handed him. This was the warship's power source. Without these items, it would be impossible for it to unleash its astonishing power. At this moment, the originally clear skies suddenly turned dark. The darkness became thicker and thicker, and it was almost impossible to see one's own fingers. Not good. Li Lingtian cried out in surprise when he saw this. His expression changed drastically. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.